Now it's booting up. Now it's going on. All right, we are live with the Only the Real Movie Podcast. Mike, with me as always is Lawrence. And as always, we're going to be talking about the movies that we saw this month. And first, we're going to start with the movies that are either recent or that we both saw. That's the lion's share of the podcast. And then we're going to do brief notes about movies only we saw, probably without spoilers for those, since the other person on the podcast hasn't even seen them. And then we're going to talk about the movies coming to theaters next month. We have a list of about 4 or 5 of those of interest. And then lastly, if we have any time, we'll talk a little bit about what just are planning to watch next month besides theater releases. So, Lawrence, how are you doing this fine evening?
I'm doing good. I'm doing okay. I got a little backed up for the last couple of weeks. My work, my Facebook page, my website.
Okay.
Everything is coming along fine the last couple of days. So I just got to get back on the horse, watching these movies and staying current.
Okay. Okay. Now make sure and speak up though. Like you're kind of quiet, man. I can't really hear you that well.
Oh, maybe it's right there. Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you, but it's just like make sure you just speak up. Like you're there,
okay.
But it's just make sure and project so that we get a good volume for your voice. That's all.
Okay. Let me make sure. Oh, it's not all. It's not enough.
See, all dude, right. What are you doing, man? Sorry, folks. We had a little bit issues like getting set up this time, so we kind of last minute.
Just skip the sound check.
Yeah, we skipped the sound check. That's right. Shouldn't have done that. We did it. Let's see. Good. You can see the first movie we're going to be talking about is Deadpool versus Wolverine. This is the third. I keep on saying it. Deadpool versus. It's not. It's Deadpool and Wolverine. Even though during a lot of the movie they are at odds, the movie is called Deadpool and Wolverine. It's the third. It's the third Deadpool movie. I'm getting alerts from my computer for some reason. It's the third Deadpool movie. But this one it decides to interject Deadpool into the Marvel multiverse, and so the plot takes a very kind of different turn with that, and introduces him into kind of the world they set up with the Loki series, and they're starting to connect that to a few of the movies. But really, to understand a lot of the TVA and all this stuff, you need to have some idea of the Marvel series, at least the ones people like. So Loki was pretty good. So fortunately, Loki wasn't a bad Marvel series. But still, a lot of people probably haven't watched that. Fortunately, you don't really have to understand the TVA stuff to enjoy the movie. You don't really have to understand the plot at all because the movie isn't about the plot. The movie is about Deadpool and Wolverine and special guests cutting it up and doing and saying ridiculous things for 2 hours straight. That's what the movie is. I think that it excels in doing that. But that's what the movie's about. It's not about the story. It's got I think, actually a pretty cool villain, I thought, because that he dug into the comic book crates quite a bit for the movie villain they chose. Not somebody that you would know from either of the X-Men movies. They really found something that I knew about because I know about the Grant Morrison run of the X-Men. But a lot of people, that's very comic book nerd type territory. They brought her in that villain into the world, and she works really well. So the character work is all really good. But it's probably the most abstract, irreverent of all 3 of the Deadpool movies. It really just is about every scene hitting and just enjoying all the little moments they give you. It's not really about the story, as it were. And the quicker you realize that when you start watching, the more you'll enjoy it. Or your initial thoughts having watched Deadpool and Wolverine.
I thought it was great.
Yeah,
I think Deadpool is the only one who could get away with kind of that breaking that fourth wall, the guy on the outside looking in, and he's on to get away with that. They do it pretty well.
Yeah,
and like you're saying, you got to be a kind of a comic nerd to know Cassandra Nova is. It's kind of strange that they chose that type of villain for this type of movie, but I thought it worked out well.
Mm-hmm. I thought the actress was good too. The one that played her, I think, did a good job of playing Cassandra Nova as well. It's funny because the artist draws her a very kind of extreme look, and they kind of tried to allude to it, but still use a regular human being. They didn't actually go for she had like this gigantic head in the comic books, And I think they went for someone that had it kind of had that effect, but she's still a normal human scale kind of skull. So they didn't quite go all the way with that, which is probably the best. Tons of like crazy cameos. And the thing about this movie is, if you like the first Deadpool movies, I like to say this sometimes with really good movies. If you like the first two Deadpool movies, or even just the first one, and you liked, what you call it, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, just go and watch this. Like, you don't, because we're going to talk a little bit more about what's going on with the movie, and a lot of the fun. I'm so glad I really skipped out on a lot of the press for it. I saw the initial trailers, and that was about it. I didn't see any like the later trailers. Didn't look for rumors about it. And I'm so glad I did, because I got to witness the surprise of seeing tons of cool cameos, especially some of the other major characters, which we'll talk about in a minute. Some other major characters that make an appearance from previous Marvel movies or previous movies about Marvel characters that you might not expect to see in a modern Deadpool and Wolverine movie, played by the actors that actually, at least in most of their cases, played them once before. Though in one case, it's a complicated story we'll talk about later as to how he ended up playing the character he played. But at this point, if you have not seen Deadpool vs. Wolverine, if you're watching this real time, take 10 minutes, go come back, please. But don't, I want to spoil the surprises for you. Come back and check out the rest of the podcast. If you're watching this after the fact, which most people do, just skip to the next chapter if you haven't seen this yet. It's an excellent movie. It's one of my candidates for movie of the year. Like, I have several in my head. This is on that list. I look forward to buying a copy of it to have in my collection to join the other two Deadpool movies. So it's that kind of movie. So, kind of having put that spoiler warning kind of aside at this point, the one person I'm talking about in particular who almost doesn't quite steal the show, but almost does, is Gambit, played by, it's funny because I get the two actors confused a little bit, but it's Channing Tatum. Almost the Taylor Kitsch, who replaced him because he had to be in a G.I. Joe movie. But instead of being in Weapon X, or the Wolverine Origins, I should say. And the number one clip I've seen on Shorts is clips of Gambit's introduction in the some point in the second, early midpoint of the second act of the movie. His character's introduced, and he just kind of steals that scene, despite Ryan Reynolds is playing off him, and Hugh Jackman's doing his thing, but he's incredible. I really do hope I just found this out. Apparently, in the after credits, we're in Spoilerville now. In the after credits, they were going to have a scene saying Gambit will return, but Marvel was afraid they wouldn't like him, so they took it out. But I think there's a real chance that Gambit might actually Channing Tatum might get his own Gambit movie. I don't think it's likely, but with the Elseworld stuff that they do, there's a chance. So this thing's making like $1 billion. He's a big part of it. If they were smart, they make a Gambit movie. But as to whether or not they'll be smart, who knows? I think that this is almost rejuvenated like the X-Men universe, and now owned by Marvel. Like, I almost feel like this world, the Deadpool universe, almost should stay the Deadpool universe, and they should make movies for like X-Men movies. They're not going to do this. I know they're going to have the X-Men probably 616, but I almost feel like they should make for some of these other people. The other person was, of course, Wesley Snipes' Blade. They had Jennifer Gardner come back as Elektra, which is the weirdest cameo to me, or major cameo. Because they're minor cameos or minor. Cassandra's Army is a ton of minor characters from old Fox X-Men movies, just tons of them, just from all different ones. It's crazy. But they even had the dude who played Sabretooth from the first X-Men movie 25 years ago. I don't know. Do you know, was that actually the same actor? Because he looked like the same guy.
Yeah, I think it was Taylor Mane.
Yeah,
Taylor Mane.
Taylor Mane, that's right. Taylor Mane. They went and got Taylor Mane to play it, and they had.
It's funny that I didn't realize that was Pyro.
Yeah, now it's Pyro, who was in the first X-Men.
Later on, like, oh, that's Pyro.
And of course, I love the moment they had with the several moments they had with what's the dude plays Captain America?
Oh my God.
Oh man, whoever he is. Remember, he played the Human Torch in the Fantastic Four movies, and Deadpool sees him, and of course, breaking the fourth wall, he thinks he's Captain America, but of course, no, he's the Fox Universe version of the Human Torch. Yeah, it just that's a couple of great moments they played off that because he was actually my favorite thing about the first. I thought the first Fantastic Four Fox movie wasn't that bad. It wasn't good, but it wasn't horrible, and he was one of the best parts of it. He was good. He was a good Human Torch. But they, but of course the second one I didn't even finish watching. The second one I just stopped watching. That second Fantastic Four movie it was a nightmare. I couldn't get through it, but I actually have a copy of it. I can watch it anytime. I just don't. It's just not worth my time to bother. I did watch the remake they did with Michael B. Jordan and whatever that mess. That was horrible too. But yeah. So I mean, just the cameos are insane. Chris Evans. Thank you. It's actually my favorite of the Chris's because Chris Evans. There's Chris from plays Guardians of the Galaxy. Chris whatever his name is. There's the three Chris's. All these three white dudes. People say they're kind of similar.
Plays Thor.
Yeah, it's Chris Helmsworth, Chris Evans, and Chris that plays dude from Guardians of the Galaxy. All three of them, the three Chris's. Chris Evans is actually my favorite as far as when he's in stuff. I like seeing him and stuff. He was in that movie from last month that we talked about, the Iceman movie. About the Iceman, he played another serial killer. He was good. Now he's good in almost everything he's in, man. He was dope. He was in that movie about the Netflix movie that the Russo brothers did. That was just okay, but he was one of the best parts of it. He played the villain in it, and he was good in that. What's that one? It was the one with the dude from the Barbie movie. Played Ken in the Barbie movie. I remember the characters. Terrible with names.
Ryan Gosling, exactly. He played Ryan Gosling's like antagonist in that movie, in that Netflix action movie the Russo brothers did. Anyway, so. But honestly, I'm talking about some of his other stuff. This movie's just so good, man. Like almost every scene hits. It's like the only weakness of it is just the fact that the actual emotional arc of the main character played by Deadpool, I didn't think was very good. This whole thing about he spends two movies. He spends the first movie getting the girl, the second movie like trying to get her back, and then the third one they take her away again. That was just I thought that was just played out. Like I thought they could have just done something else, and just him going to the 616 universe to join the Avengers. It was a weird first act, and it really, I was like, it took me a while, but once I got past that, I just started having fun, and it didn't matter. And Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, the one he plays in it, has a decent character arc, so it kind of made up for it a bit. But that's what kind of the emotional core of the movie was actually Hugh Jackman's character. The Deadpool storyline was just kind of silly, and it was just best not to think about it too much. That's to me the biggest weakness of this movie is the Deadpool character arc they're trying to go for. It's like, I thought it was just not barely worth the time they spend doing it. And it's funny because they actually barely spend any time on the scene of him breaking up with her, with the and it's like they almost do it in fast forward. It's like a minute long. Like they barely spend it, and this is like key to the thing, and they barely. It's like this, 1 or 2 page scene and screenplay kind of thing. So yeah, it was just not even just half baked in that sense too. So they got the Die Hard roller coaster relationship going.
Exactly.
Make up, break up.
Exactly. It's like something like it's played out, man. At least for the fourth one, man, he can be dealing with his daughter again at that point. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't do it. We can't do that again. I didn't like that. That was the one thing I didn't like about Die Hard with a Vengeance is. It's because the plot didn't include her. I think that's why they did that. And the director was his ex-girlfriend, so they kind of wrote her out of the story. They want her in the story, but and it was and honestly, it kind of worked with what he was going for with Sam Jackson. But this thing about him being stubborn. But it was kind of a bummer that he again, like just like the Deadpool, he gets her in the first movie, second movie trying to keep her from dying, and then now you lose her again. Like, and then the fourth one they cemented that he's his life kind of sucked. Like. If the first 3 movies he's trying to keep his life together, he's generally a happy guy, and then the fourth one is like, oh yeah, no, all that stuff didn't really work out personally. Estranged from everybody, just a sad loner. You really have to do that. That's one of my kind of cardinal sins of sequels is don't ruin previous movies. When you do that, that's a strike against you a little bit. Sometimes the movie's good enough like this one, it doesn't matter. Or even Die Hard 3 and 4. I still really love those movies. But it's still like, why did you do that? I wish you hadn't done that. That's a cardinal sin for me for movies, movie sequels, I should say. But yeah, man, this one's a big thumbs up for me. Like, I think everybody should see it in the theater if you like superhero movies at all. and you know Deadpool movies. If there's any chance you think you would like it, go see it. like if you're watching, like, what is that? And of course not. You know, go watch, Four Weddings and a Funeral or something. But if you think you would like this movie, then I think you'll like it. Just understand that first act's a little choppy. Yeah. So here's the other thing I wanted to talk about with this, besides the movie itself, which I knew we would both agree on, because I remember you told me first. I was like, just tell me if it's good or not. You're like, yeah, it's good. So I knew we were both going to agree on that. But the other question is, where do we put it? Where do we rank it with the other two movies? So we have Deadpool. We got Deadpool. What was it just called? Deadpool? Was it a funky name like Deadpool 2? Was it called something else? Just called Deadpool 2?
No, just Deadpool 2.
Okay. And then Deadpool and Wolverine. Do you want to start, or should I start? Or just how would you do it? Let me just ask you.
It's kind of tough because I like as a movie, I like the first one the best, but second has a lot more moments to it. Even though the story seemed kind of, and the characters just seemed kind of random. I think there was one miscast in there. I won't get into it, but I think the second one had a few more funny moments.
Interesting.
But I would say maybe the first one, Deadpool Wolverine, probably Deadpool 2.
Okay. I would agree. I think you're right that there are a couple crazy moments, like the Juggernaut in Deadpool 2 was awesome. Again, like that was them just being comic nerds, man, just like doing stuff like that. And it's funny how Deadpool geeks out on stuff just like we do. Like he's us in the movie, but to the fourth wall extent. It's Juggernaut. I'm a big fan. Anyway, but yeah, I would agree with your ranking. I think the first one, to me, just because the story is so well done and it has all the comedy and every scene hits just like this one, that even though this one I think is more in a lot of ways, I think this one's probably the funniest of all of them, has the biggest action moments. Even though I think the first one, the action scenes, the fewer of them are more tightly done. This one has more of the almost like old school, just two kind of reminds you of the video of animated things where the two groups just like both start running at each other. And I think they did that almost like a parody of like the Avengers movies, where both sides just start running at each other. And I think that's kind of fun, but it's also a little bit silly. I thought the first one was a little more grounded as far as that stuff. But yeah, I think the first one's almost perfect. This one I think is excellent, very entertaining, but as I said, has noticeable flaws. And the second one, I thought the same way, that it was good stuff about it, but it had noticeable flaws. But that one, I just wasn't as entertained by, and there are parts of it I just don't like very much. This one, there's not really almost anything besides I think this little bit choppy first act. There's not much I don't like, so I would agree with that. And I think that there are moments in this one I probably do like about as much, because I watched the first two and with my daughter in preparation for this, and I think the highs of this one I think almost do reach for me the highs of the second one, and it has Wolverine in it too. One of my favorite thing about it is when they're all going through the different dimensions looking for the right Wolverine, like and all the deep cuts that they had for that. Like I really appreciate it as a comic book fan. Like it was part of it was like almost like a love letter to comic book fans and just fans of the movies and the comics. Like it's just a movie you just geek out to. Like this is some of it's fan service, and I could certainly understand someone not liking it as much because the story issues with Deadpool story issues, but it just didn't bother me because I was just enjoying myself too much for it to matter. But it's a flaw there, but it's just too entertaining otherwise. But I watched Deadpool now, the first one, 5 or 6 times, and it just still slaps. This one I've only seen once. I'm looking forward to just owning it. I could go and see it in theater again, but I'm just looking forward to just owning it and watching whenever I want. And after I watch it 3 or 4 times, we'll see if that changes. Because there's some movies that you watch them once and you like them some, you like them more later. Other times you watch them once and repeat viewings, the flaws stick out more than what you like about them. That was true a little bit of the second Deadpool. There's some things about it I don't like that do kind of stick out a bit on rewatching, but there are also some good stuff that is I really appreciate too. So we'll see how this one goes. It's kind of hard to compare for that reason too. We've only seen it once. So So I think we have to say that. So is there anything else you want to say about this before we go to the next new release?
No, I think we pretty much covered it.
All right.
Okay.
A close up of that. All right. So the next movie we're looking at is Alien Romulus. Now, in the timeline, Alien Romulus takes place between Alien and Aliens, the first two movies of the series. The most important movie I would say to watch, if you haven't seen it, is Alien. There are references to other things a little bit there. We'll talk about in a bit. But the main thing is, I think it's good to see Alien. It's the most directly connected to that as the direct prequel. And there are a couple things that happen in it too. Generally, before going into spoiler territory, how did you feel about Alien Romulus?
I gave this 3 popcorns. I thought it was pretty good. Which I put, well, what I
That's
wrote
3 out of 5, right? That's 3 out of 5?
3 out of, well,
or 3 out of 4. Like, what's the max popcorn?
3 out of 4. But if I give 4 popcorns, I give a soda. No, it's kind of weird, but
if you get 4 popcorns, you get what?
A soda.
Oh, a soda. Oh,
Yeah,
okay. So instead of 4 popcorns, it equals a soda.
Yeah.
Got you. Okay. So but for people's minds, it's 3 out of 4. Like, you know, I mean, generally, just to understand what you're going for. Okay. So once you were 3 out of 4, 3 out of 5, it's a big difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Didn't get a soda with this one, but it's 3 popcorns.
Okay.
The biggest gripe with this is that I know there are some scenes that you feel nostalgia, but I think they kind of went overboard with it a little bit, especially with the
wait, remember, we're trying to out spoilers right now.
Well, I was saying they kind of without spoiling it, they kind of regurgitate some scenes in here. But
okay.
But they were well done.
Sure.
I kind of gave a pass on it because the scenes were very well, especially that last scene was very well done.
Yeah.
But we've seen it already. But that's probably my biggest gripe with it. But other than that, I think it was a good movie. Because I think they hit on the point with the relationships, especially between the main character and
her brother.
Her brother, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's what makes the movie.
Yeah, that's the emotional core of the movie, and I agree. That was what they built the movie around, and I think that was a smart move. I think the biggest issue I had, I thought it was very good. The funny thing is, I watched it and I liked it, and then over the last couple of days, I've been kind of thinking about it a bit more, and if anything, I'm starting to like it and look forward to watching it again because I think I'm actually going to appreciate it more on reviewing, like rewatching. Because the thing about what's tough about me is, again, I thought the first act, just like the other movie when we just looked at the first act, was a little bit choppy. It wasn't quite. It didn't quite. It was like the introduction of the characters and stuff. Some of it worked, some didn't. But it felt, I don't know. I didn't start connecting with the characters for a while. It took a while. Like there's a scene early on where they're in there and they're discussing the heist that they want to go on, and that scene, I think one character kind of stands out, but a lot of the other ones don't really. And this is something my daughter pointed out. The biggest issue with the characters in it is the guy that plays like the leader of the group trying to do the heist. That he has almost no personality there's no character issue with him. He's like, almost like I said to my daughter, he's almost like a male Mary Sue. But he's not super powerful like a Mary Sue is. But he's nothing wrong with him. Right? That was like a problem. And there's nothing wrong with him. He's just there. And he's a reasonable, normal person, and that's it. That's all there is to him. And he's like one of the 4 biggest characters in the movie. Like there's other characters that have lesser importance, that are in less of the movie, that have more going on, more personality, more issues, more stuff. He doesn't really have much of anything. And I feel like there might have been something they wrote out of it. Like maybe because I think they hint at a relationship between him and the main character. And I think maybe they cut that out because the movie's already 2 hours long. Maybe they thought, it doesn't really add anything to it. But maybe that was what was going to be there and just gets cut out. But it leaves him with nothing. So he's in there. He's in a lot of it, but there's just nothing really going on with him. Everybody else got something going on. Everybody except for him. And I think that was probably, in terms of flaws, the biggest one. So he has a lot of speaking lines in those early scenes, and it doesn't really connect me to him. and he's just kind of there. There's also, and we're going to spoiler territory in a minute, but there are a couple illogical things that happen that you're like, really, like it's kind of snapped me out of the movie a little bit how ridiculous this is. But overall, the set pieces were amazing, like all of them. Like just every there were about 4 or 5 of them, and we see one in the trailer. The first one in the trailer when they're in the room trying to break into the like the freezer unit things. It's probably too early on. That's the first thing. That's well done. That one isn't over long, which I was afraid it would be. They kind of like it's the right length. And then of course the third act is killer. The third act kind of, and that's the thing about it, is watching it, I was like, this is pretty cool. But then the third act really sold me the whole movie. I was like, watch it. After the third act, I'm like, wow, I'm really looking forward to watching that movie again. It's because that third act I thought really killed both character level as well as the actual spots and the actual what they shot. Now, as you said, and now if you haven't seen this, you like the Alien movies at all, go see it. We're going into spoiler territory here. As you said, there is a lot of references to the other movies. There is a lot of actual similar shots and similar emotional beats that they play. Like the thing about which one did you want to say? So let me, because you had one that you wanted to talk about, happened towards the end of the movie that you thought was just was too much like something we'd already seen before. What was that particular thing?
It's where she's ejecting him out of the alien out of the ships. Well, first of all, where
every movie does that though, bro.
Yeah, well, the first part of that is where the woman gives birth.
Yes,
saw that Prometheus, and then.
Well, no, Prometheus wasn't a birth. Prometheus, it was like the force section.
What?
Remember, that was a whole scene though. See, the one in Prometheus though, that was a whole like her trying to like not get killed by the thing, and her like be like, hurry up. That's one of my favorite scenes from Prometheus. But that's her like that movie like tripped me out when I first saw it. But that was this one. It's like kind of after the fact. It's like and it's there. It's like done. It's not really a big thing. It just kind of happens. So I would say that'd be my retort, is that actually just kind of happens pretty quickly. It's not a big, I mean, made a big to-do out of it for getting cut out of it. But yeah, that's Prometheus. But in this case, it's similar. But that's the thing, is that you do like, you've had like 7 of these movies. It's like you're gonna have a lot of similar stuff. Like the thing with her fighting, being outside, and like the trying to survive the what you call outer space, the suction of outer space. Every one of them has that. And it's like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like you're regurgitating the same.
Yeah, but to me,
but it was one of the best. It was beautifully done, though.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, so to me, if there's an alien movie, it's in space. At some point, they're shooting it out the airlock. Like that's just the reality of it. It's not dying any other way. They don't really die. So unless you go lop its head off like it's Michael Myers or something, I don't know how else you kill any of these things except shoot it out into space and say bye. Like I don't know what else you do with it. So to me, at least make each one unique and interesting. That's all you can kind of hope for. But there was some predictability to some of the drama of it. I thought it was interesting about how they tried to expand like the robot stuff. Oh, also this is the other thing. The worst thing, just the thing is so visually absolutely gorgeous. This movie is just the shots. Remember the thing skating off of the rings of the planet. Insane visuals. Except one problem. The face of the android sitting on the table. I don't know if they got the real actor and tried to de-age him, or if it's all CGI or what, but it looked terrible. And I get
CGI because I think that the actors passed away.
Okay, but to me, I'm like, they should have just used somebody else. Like, I understand why. Get another actor and put makeup on him to make him look like that actor, but that CGI was terrible. So the first shot of it, you're like, what the heck is this? It was just it shot me right out of the movie. I got used to it, and later on he's on video and stuff, and it's distorted, so you can't see it as well. But that first scene with it, I'm like, this looks so bad. And it was just the rest of the movie looks so amazing that it's just it really took me out of it there. So that was a shot. And again, I said the first 15 minutes of it, I just didn't think were very good. But once you get through that, now that I've seen it, that won't matter to me. So now I've seen the whole movie, the first 15 minutes aren't going to bother me that much. It was just when you're first watching a movie, the movie's trying to get you invested in it. That's what the first act's job is. And so I think the first act's job in this movie is to get you invested in a lot of the characters. It doesn't do the greatest job of that. I think early in the second act actually helps that a lot. and the movie does eventually have that effect, but I think it takes a bit longer than it should have. And the first time you see it, you might be a little disconnected, like, how much do I really like these characters at this point? It's interesting, but it eventually pulls you in, I think, but it just takes a little while. But okay, so yeah, I think for me, I'm gonna start off with an 8 out of 10. So I just do 1 to 10 for my views. That's my 8 out of 10. But I think it could be. I'm gonna rewatch it. I think it could be a 9. It's an 8 for me right now, but it could be a 9. I have to another movie I'm looking forward to having in my collection in like 4K or something. It looks so sick. I think I want that. Like, I don't even care about like Deadpool Wolverine. That can be in like, in just 1080p probably or whatever. This movie I want like 4K. This movie looks sick. It's like, funny thing is, I felt the same way about coming out Prometheus. At the time, it looked really sick. Now, it still looks good, but I've seen other stuff. But at the time, I remember being like, wow, this looks so amazing.
That's the funny thing about the aliens. Like, they all look great. But
yeah, for the time.
Storyline. I mean, the Alien Covenant was terrible. But
that was the thing. That still looked beautiful, but it was a terrible movie. It looked absolutely beautiful, and it was terrible. But it was just like the deal. It was just a bad story. For that.
I would say it's probably, as far as sets, that's probably the best look one out of all of them. But it was the worst one.
It had like 2 good scenes in it. It had like, there was the scene I like where the people they probably put the person in the med bay and the alien comes out of them. He's trying to run away from them and they stuck in there with it. Like that, I thought that was dope. And then at the end, when it takes out like the last few people, I thought that actually was that when it's just rolling around and people in the shower. Like, I thought that was a cool, like, there's an alien kill scene. I thought it was a good kill scene. But yeah, the story was terrible. Like, the whole stuff with David and stuff, I don't know why they did that way. Like, it's a bad story. But yeah, so that's the thing. So like, where I want to go through like too long of a process of ranking all the alien movies right now, but just generally, where would you put this? Like, what's a good comparable for you, or where would you generally place it in your like lexicon of alien movies? Like, I'll start to kind of give you an idea. For me, Aliens is still the best one. I love Aliens. I like it even better with the extended scenes. I like it when it's long. It's already 2.5 hours long. I like it when it's longer. Put the machine gun back in. Let me see the people before the monsters come. I like all of it. Give me the longer intro with her at the base. I don't love, but it's fine. Put it all in versus all out. But theatrical release too, it's fine. So that's my top. After that, there's several good ones for different reasons. Aliens, a classic, but I do think it's aged a bit. And I watched it recently, and I don't think that it's I think that there are certainly things about it that have improved from a screenwriting standpoint too. That is the most well done. I'm a big fan of Prometheus. I know some people don't like it. I do. I take it as its own movie. I don't worry about how it connects to the universe. I just think it's a movie. I like the character. The casting's good in it, and I really like that. And so it's probably around where Prometheus is, but it's much different than Prometheus. But it's probably around there where Prometheus is, and I would probably put both of those above the first Alien, even though it's the original. It's a classic. It's a landmark movie. But as far as if I'm recommending somebody watch a movie now, and so you can only watch one Alien movie for the rest of your life, watch Aliens by James Cameron. If you can only watch 2, watch Aliens, and then watch either this or watch Prometheus. If you can watch 3, then watch 4, watch those 3, and then add Alien probably. And then you can go to 3, 4, Covenant. I think that's now AVP is a whole different thing, so I wouldn't even put those in this. But I put it around where it's, I guess, tied for second, I guess, right now with Prometheus. Very different reasons though. And I could see it actually even be above Prometheus. Depends on how it goes when we watch it. So that's the idea, man. So what's your thoughts on that?
I would say top 3, James Cameron Aliens, Alien, and I'll put this one. Reason I put Alien first because I think they set the standard, even though it's a little, like you said, a little dated. But they did set the standard for everything. So I'll put Alien second, and then probably this will be third.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of the Alien movies I'm kind of, Alien 3 I think was good, but I don't think it was a good follow up to Aliens.
It broke the cardinal
Like-
rule, man.
I'm like, why you gotta kill our characters?
That's what I'm saying, man. It broke the car. It broke it in an aggressive way. It broke it in an aggressive and to me an unfair way. So it didn't even break it during the course of the movie or at the end. It broke it as the introduction to the movie. Like, oh yeah, that movie you loved that turned this into a national, like a super international whatever. Man, F that movie. Like, forget that movie. Like, you know, why are we doing that? You know, so that's my gripe. That it's kind of slow. Like I watched it. I haven't watched it in a long time, but last time I saw it, I was like, oh man, this is a little dull. It's a little bit. And 4 is kind of goofy, but it's kind of entertaining. But then the end is really silly. So I don't know. So that's why, like, to me, Covenant and 4, I just don't try to think about too much. 3 is okay, but I guess, but I don't know how much I really like it. It might just be might just be a decently made movie that I don't want to watch. Like I don't. I'd have to watch it again to really have a strong opinion. Other than that, it's not terrible. It's okay, I guess, but how okay? I don't know. I have no strong desire to see it, despite the fact that Sigourney Weaver is still excellent. I like Charles S. Dutton, but just the movie is just, yeah.
It just kind of took a left turn.
Yeah.
I understand y'all trying to be different, but you know, and then it comes out of a dog, and it's just like, so, it was more agile. It's like nothing really special about that.
Yeah. One funny thing I was about to go over. One funny thing I wanted to talk about, because there are a couple goofy things in this movie that I want to mention. Now we're in spoiler territory. One is when the guy, or one is that, and this is true of the original Alien 2, and I watched that recently, and then watched this, is that the alien is the problem is conservation of energy. That's my problem. The alien comes out of a person's body this big without any additional inputs. It's gigantic. No inputs, no food, it just goes away. And in this movie especially, there's no food there. It didn't kill anybody. It just goes into an egg and just grows like magically. Like there's no, you know, it's just, that's the thing. Like it replicates that kind of magical aspect of the aliens that in the other ones, you did time to go off and they ate people. But I guess they always have been like that. But these two movies really show off that magical aspect of these aliens, which is they just magically grow to like 20 times their size when they come out with no inputs. They don't eat grain or anything. Like with the aliens movies, like, oh, they went off, they could eat the stores of food or something. They were smaller. Just something. And then the other one, the Alien 3 one, it's smaller because it came out of a dog. You know, it's not really that big. But even that one, like, it's like, okay, where did he eat food? He still kind of grew, I guess. But I want to say that one, it seemed like it got bigger, but that might have been bad special effects. But in the first one and in this one, it's clear. It's tiny. It sheds a little thing, and it's a reference to that. And it's just, man, that's the thing. If you watch this right after watching the original, there's little things like that they have to, like, Fede Alvarez and the other screenwriter. They watched the first one and like took everything they could to like ode back to it that they could possibly reasonably do. And so he had a little skin, looks like a giant condom, like a Magnum condom on the ground. That's the egg it comes out of, or the thing, the little sheath that comes off of the thing when it goes into the cocoon. That was kind of cool. They showed the cocoon though, and the dude tries to kill the cocoon. That was kind of cool. Yeah, man, it was very good. But there was that, and the other one is when they're walking through, they have all the little face huggers. They're like, they don't have eyes. So they go by heat and sound. And he's walking through there, and the chick starts blowing up his phone, you know, and instead of being like, just break it right away, just be like, I'll call her later, you know what I'm saying? Or just turn the volume off or something. He's like, hello, what's going on? What's your problem? Like he's like the helpline or something. And this little alien like, sweat coming off his eye. He's just like, and he just keeps talking. It's not even like, this is one of the scenes where brevity would have helped. If he had come in, he gets the call, he said, bad time, chick, call me back, click, and it's too late, and he's already sweating, and that's it. Then but he has like a 1-minute conversation with her while the alien is slowly like, what's he doing? And he's just like, come on, man, what's wrong with you? And everybody else is staring at him like the robot and the girl looking at him like, what's wrong with you? So I thought that tripped me out there when they had that scene. It made me dislike it, but it was just kind of like, this is like horror movie thing where like, why are you running up the steps kind of thing. Like, what are you doing here? So, but yeah, it's still a really good movie. It's 8 out of 10. Might be a 9. Depends on how I rewatch, how I feel about it.
But that's funny that she that's another thing I point out. They should make good use of the face huggers.
Yes,
Like
they
the whole
did.
army of them.
Yeah, that was something new. That was something new, though.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting how they basically had like a flesh printer. Like they figured out what they looked like and they could like print the flesh.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they were doing with that. They were like able to like just generate them out of the thing. I thought there's a brief mention of Prometheus in it, like the Prometheus something or whatever. I'm curious to like watch that. It's like a reference, like they knew about Prometheus, but I don't really see how necessarily would have. Like it's like they wanted to make like an ode to it. They see it looks like they kind of re-extracted the black goo back out of the things and like refine it, but they mentioned something about Prometheus, and I'm like, that ship was lost. It blew up. How would you know that they ever met anybody? Y'all hanging out with David or something? Like, what's going on? Like, how would you even know about Prometheus?
Well, apparently they haven't explained it yet, but they knew about it somehow because the android knew about it, basically. So they haven't explained it yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hope they make a sequel. I hope they keep on. Hope Fede Alvarez does it again. That's what I'm saying. Like, just like he co-wrote it with somebody, so it probably means the other person actually wrote most of it, and Fede just chimed in. A lot of directors do that. They have their dude, and it's like this is the guy like the guy that did the Hangover movies. He directed the first one. The second and third he co-wrote with Craig Mazin. Craig Mazin's like his homeboy. Like that's like his guy he writes with. But Craig Mazin probably does most of the actual writing of like scene, insert this. They kind of come the story together, and he goes off and turns them, pushes it out, gets out of it, fleshes it all out, and then they come back and refine it together. The other guy probably does that for Fede. But anyway, he might be a good team, so I hope they should go back and make some more of these. Make another one, man. Just take your time, like don't rush it. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. People are like, oh, it's whatever, it's gonna blow up. Got it. Like, yeah, but just be cool. Because I feel like they kind of maybe rushed Covenant. Maybe that's how that happened. That was different. And see, that was 2 different screenwriters. So they had totally different people do Prometheus. Covenant was a guy that wrote Gladiator for him. He had him. Ridley Scott had him come in and write it. And I just think it was a bad story. I don't know if Ridley Scott came up with it and told him to do that, or if he came up with the bad idea. I don't know how that worked, but it's a totally different guy. So it continued the story, but it really just took it its own direction. And that one broke the cardinal rule too. It didn't do it on screen, but it did it. So, again, that's another reason why I don't like it. But anyway, all right.
Oh, yeah.
And this one's all your fault. So, yeah, because Borderlands, I was a little bit worried when I saw the trailers. I was like, maybe I can watch it, maybe I won't. Then I found out Eli Roth directed it. I had just seen Thanksgiving, his horror movie that takes place on Thanksgiving recently. And I was like, I don't know. Maybe I should just see how the audience does with this. Then Lawrence texted me, he's like, yo, man, I checked out Borderlands, man. It's all right. It's not that good. You didn't sell it. You weren't like, oh, it's good. I was like, man, well, he's gonna watch it. We do the podcast. I might like it. Let me check it out. So I went to the movie and I spent 2 hours listening to bad dialogue and watching bad special effects. So, do you want to try to explain the story of Borderlands as I did the first 2?
Well, man, what happened was.
What happened, man?
No, this is I actually gave this. What did I give it? I think I gave it 2 popcorns actually. The movie is terrible, but it had a few moments in it that I gave it credit for. I won't recommend it. I mean, because I'm not, especially Kevin Hart. I'm not Kevin Hart's.
That was terrible casting, Kevin Hart. That was terrible casting. He was just there. He's a big name because the rest of these people, Jamie Lee Curtis is not a name. Cate Blanchett is okay, and she actually was the best thing about this movie. But I think they want an extra name more. This is a very producer-driven movie. It felt like to me. They're like, okay, we got to get us a director. We got to get some actors. We have this. That's the kind of movie it seemed like to me. But just to explain to the audience if they don't know what this is about, Borderlands, the general idea is there's this planet, and it has some vault with vast supposed riches in it. And so people come to the planet looking for it. these oddball set of characters find themselves on that planet for various reasons and have to kind of band together to not get killed by the villainous corporation. That's the general idea of the movie. The movie centers around Cate Blanchett, who plays like a bounty hunter. And I said she's actually fairly good in it. And then the other people play various other roles. You know, Kevin Hart plays a soldier, which okay, but I don't know. I think he's supposed to. He's not really. He only has like one or two even Kevin Hart moments. He plays most of the straight. They play. I mean, most of the movie could have been played by any like. Could have been what is that? Jason Statham could have been it. Jason Statham could have been that character. It's not like he's doing quips. It's not ride along Kevin Hart. It's Kevin Hart just playing a normal like regular.
No, Kevin Hart's biggest problem that he's Kevin Hart. That's good.
I mean, I just think he has a persona, and
yeah,
it's not ill-suited for this role. And unfortunately, he's only like 5 feet tall, and he's noticeably short, even among actors. So you have him playing a soldier, and he's not big, and so he's a badass soldier, but he's this little guy, and it's like, okay, why did you use Kevin Hart? Is it to be funny? Because he's not that funny. So why is Kevin Hart in this movie? It's that kind of thing. Jamie Lee Curtis, again, a name. She has like 7 lines in the whole movie. Or 10 lines. She does not have a major role in this movie. They cast her, but then they get like a relatively random guy to play the villain. I mean, I've seen him and stuff, but she's a bigger name than the villain. They have 4 main characters, I think, 4 people, or at least 3 people that are bigger names than the villain. And like the villain is just this. I can't remember the name of the actor. He's okay, but they maybe should have spent a little bit more real estate on that. But yeah, it's bad dialogue. To me, I don't think Jamie Lee Curtis was cast well. Kevin Hart wasn't cast well. The guy plays like the big, strong guy. I guess he's fine, but he doesn't really do anything. He doesn't really bring anything to the role. He's just
Drago.
There. So what?
It's Drago from Creed 2.
Oh, it is.
Oh,
okay. I had no idea. Okay.
I didn't
I can't read those names.
And I read the cast list.
Ariana Greenblatt, I guess, is the other one. I can see her name, half of her name. I think it's Ariana. I think that's her first name. Anyway, the Greenblatt, she's okay, but her character is written kind of weird. And Eli Roth co-wrote the screenplay too, which I don't know is good or bad. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes about his less than exemplary filmmaking record, but in my opinion, of what I've seen, 'cause I've been seeing a lot of his stuff too. But he actually did co-wrote this one, which is actually a change. Last few movies he actually didn't write. He didn't write Thanksgiving, for better or for worse. Like, you can't blame the writing on him, just the directing. But yeah, so I gave it like 2 out of 10. I think it's pretty terrible. I don't think the action scenes were not particularly good. Wasn't very funny. I have absolutely no interest in watching this movie ever again. I don't think there's really much of anything to take away of value from it. It's not totally unpleasant to watch. Maybe it's a 3 and not a 2. It's a 2 or a 3. I'm leaning towards a 2 because I don't give 2s out a lot. So when I have an opportunity to, I kind of want to, because a lot of movies are decent. This movie isn't even that to me. Like, there are a lot of decent movies I've watched. I'm like, it was all right. Like Alien 3 is all right. You know what I mean? There are movies that are all right, but even though I don't feel good putting this movie even with those movies. Those movies to me get more credit than this one. This one I don't give much of credit because I'm trying to think like, name me. Let me ask you this, man. What was your favorite moment of the movie? What was your favorite moment?
I would say maybe the exploding bunny rabbit. But
that's probably was the
that.
best part. That's true. That probably was the best thing. That's a good. I had forgotten about that. That probably is the best thing. Is when you use the exploding bunny rabbit.
And Jack Black.
Yes,
not a lot of big moments, but
he had some little moments. It was hit and miss. The jokes were hit and miss, but overall, Jack Black as Crankcase, or what is it? What's the name of? I can't remember his name now, but as the robot, Jack Black is the robot with the best casting in the movie. Cate Blanchett was pretty good too. He was really good as a robot. I'll say that's right. He didn't have a lot to do, and some of the jokes hit and miss, but. And I'll say that would be my best. Actually, that's my best moment. Is early on when Jack Black is harassing Cate Blanchett. That was the best action. It's not doesn't go on that long. It goes on for about 5 minutes, like 2 scenes. But that was probably the best part of the movie. But otherwise, it's mostly just throw it away. It's just like didn't like the third act. Drama they were trying to do didn't really work.
Just the fact that he was saying like what we were thinking, like something messed up, like damn, I was fucked up. He's like, yeah, you're a pretty bad person, like stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But look, I think Kate Blanchett, she did the best she could with the very thin, paper-thin character.
Yeah.
So I got to give her credit.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the hallmark of all my acting classes. Like it doesn't matter what's written, you got to make something of the character. Mm-hmm. I think she's a shining example. They should probably show this in Acting 101 of trying to make something out of just crap.
I kind of wish they just taken away some of her one-liners because I actually kind of dragged her down a little bit. Occasionally get to like try to pass these one-liners. Well, some were terrible. I'm like, I wish they just had her not say that. Just don't. They were so bad. And I was like, oh.
And I've never played the video game, but the people who were most pissed off were people who actually played the game.
I've played Borderlands 1 and 2, and it's not. And I'm not a super fan. Like I don't remember these characters from the game. I played them years ago. I played them I think the Borderlands 2 I played 12 years ago or something, or 10 years ago. It was a good games, but I don't remember the characters. But again, besides the robot, which I thought Jack Black did a good job, the rest of them weren't really like the characters in the game, which I didn't mind if they were well cast, but most of them weren't well cast. So, that's what you get. But yeah, man, no, this is probably my worst. I think this might be my worst movie of the year right now. At least new releases of 2024. This might be it. I have to think. I'm start thinking about it now. I mean, at the end of the summer, start putting together a 2024 list of movies. This is gonna be at the bottom of that list.
Oh, really? Yeah, I gotta think about that. I think does it beat Watchers? I don't know. I think that's about once. So.
Oh, what Watchers? Someone Watchers?
Might be slightly better than Watchers.
Oh, ouch! See, man, you're too nice because you talked like Watchers was like kind of all right. Now you're telling me I think Watchers is terrible now, man. Now I'm afraid to watch it because it came on like Paramount Plus or something's gonna have it. I was gonna watch it. Now I'm kind of afraid to, man.
I can't remember. I gotta read my reviews. I gave something a 0.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You did.
I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, because that's why. That's the thing, man. A lot of times, mediocre and bad movies kind of blend together. It's hard to remember which one was actually decent, just not great, and which one was actually terrible. And it's like there are only a few movies. It's not like I go back and I watch old movies I thought were okay, and I'm like, this is bad. It's a bad movie. It might have one good scene or two good scenes, but it's otherwise a bad movie. Bad acting, bad storytelling. It just had one or two good scenes that made me like it when I was a kid or something, or a younger adult. But bad news. All right, next one up. So those are all new releases we both saw. Oops, I messed that up too close. This one is a movie that I just saw that you have not seen yet. So I'm gonna kind of not go and do any spoiler stuff for this. But this is a horror movie. It's kind of called Longlegs, kind of in the style of Seven. It reminded me the most of Seven of any single movie, on tone generally. And it clearly was produced in part by Nick Cage, and it's not really a spoiler to say that he plays the titular character, Longlegs, and he very much overacts throughout the whole movie, and purposely so. And it's one of the things. It's overall a decent movie. I'll probably give it a 5 or a 6. I don't remember which one I actually did. I want to say I think I gave it a 5, but like a high end 5. Like whenever I review something, I say, okay, this is the grade I'm giving it. But if I couldn't give it that grade, would I go and inch the next one up or the next one down? This one, I think it's a 5, but I would inch it to 6 if I had to choose. If I couldn't say 5, but it's right in the middle there. It starts off really well, very good first act, super creepy, really pulls you in to the universe they're trying to build there. It's very, it got you in the kind of the kind of edge of your seat kind of stuff as it draws you into this creepy tale. But as the movie goes along, it kind of falls apart a bit. Illogical stuff happens, somewhat nonsensical. There are a few scenes that don't really need to be in it that are just there just to give Nick Cage more to do at certain points, I think. There's one scene in particular I'm thinking of, and I kind of feel like it got maybe a little bit in rewrites, became a little more, expanded the character, because the movie's about the main character who's on the poster. That's what the movie's about. and she's got a decent arc to it. What they did with that. But if I told you like the story with all the spoilers, it's a good story. I just think in terms of the way the plot was constructed, the way the story is told, it kind of falls apart towards the end, and to the point where, despite how much I liked it drawing me in, I ultimately don't really like it coming out of it, because it kind of spoiled the movie for me a little bit in terms of how much I kind of quote unquote like it, or what I recommend it. Because to me, the end of a movie is more important than the beginning. Like Alien Romulus, the beginning to me is not really done that well, but the ending is excellent. This movie is like the reverse. The beginning is really good. I did not like the ending. It was weird. Didn't make sense. This is one of those movies that if it comes out in streaming and I can capture it and use it for fair use, I'm going to do one of my deep dives and break down every scene and what's wrong with every scene after about the 30-minute point, because things start going off the rails. Stuff's not making sense. Characters making dumb decisions by halfway through it. And that's what kind of ultimately turned me off of the movie. And when it gets to where it's going, it's like, okay, I get that, but you didn't do it the right way. And that was my issue with it. But it's interesting though. It's directed by not a first-time director. He's done some other stuff. It's Osgood Perkins, Anthony Perkins' son.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's but he's done several other movies. This is not his first movie. It's the first one I've seen though. I haven't seen his other ones. I'll say this, even though I only give it a 5, I'm curious about at least one of his other movies. I want to go back, see what other movie people liked a whole lot, and see if I like it, because he definitely is a talented director. My issues were more so with the script that he shot, not with his directing. I think as a director, he's a good director. But yeah, I just think as a movie, it'll pull you in, but you may not like where it goes, because I didn't particularly. And I got frustrated with some of the characters that they were doing, that kind of stuff. That's where it lost me a little bit. But it's an interesting story, and it is creepy. And I think this guy's going to be making movies probably for a long time. I know what okay. So that's all I'll say there. You didn't see it, so I want to go back to Borderlands, because I forgot I wanted to talk about Eli Roth's other movies. I forgot about that.
Oh, okay.
We're going to bounce back a bit to Borderlands. So this movie was bad. We've already discussed that. I want to talk to you about Eli Roth, the director. So I went and looked up and said, well, what other movies did he do? I knew he did both the Hostel movies, and he wrote both the Hostel movies. Mm-hmm. Apparently, his first movie was that movie Cabin Fever. Do you remember seeing that one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he wrote and directed that. And actually wasn't bad. I liked it at the time. I kind of want to go back and rewatch it, see if it's still as good as I think it was, but I remember liking it. That was his big break.
One of those real popular during the pandemic.
Right? That's what whatever. But it was, he made it back in like 2005 or something, a long time ago. Mm-hmm. Of course, Eli Roth played the Bear Jew in Inglourious Bastards. If you wonder what he looks like, that's who it is. Anyway, he did Hostel parts 1 and 2, or Hostel and part 2. He did The Green Inferno, which we talked about before, is that weird movie about the indigenous people or cannibals or something. Some kids go camping in their home or something, in their neighborhood, and they get gaffled up.
Well, they're actually trying to save them.
Oh yeah, that's right. They're trying to go there like they're humanitarians, and they're like, "We don't want your help, white man." And so I think that's an interesting concept.
That's the funny thing about it. Like,
yeah,
he was going for. They're tearing down forests. They're going to help. They're going to kill all these people. And they go down there, and like the people are trying to help, trying to eat them.
Nice. There's a famous indigenous people, and I think it's like an island they're on. I can't remember where. I mean, maybe it's in Southeast Asia. I'm not sure, but they refuse to let anybody outside world near them. If they do, they will kill you. Like no question. If you come up to them, they just start shooting arrows at you. Like if they see like modern people coming up towards them, they just start firing. Their weapons. Like they don't play. They don't play. Like it's the only the only untouched part of the entire world or something. I saw like a YouTube thing about it or something, but it's interesting. Anyway, so yeah, that's the Green Inferno in a nutshell. Then there's that movie Knock Knock with Keanu Reeves that I never saw, about the two girls come to the dude's door and start flirting with him, and he lets them in, and they gaffle him up.
Never heard of that one.
Yeah, so it's so what?
Keanu
Reeves. Keanu Reeves, yeah. It was like post the Matrix series, and he was kind of not doing. It was pre John Wick, but post the Matrix series, so he wasn't really doing a lot of stuff. He had done like a Scanner Darkly, I think, right before that, or not long before that, or something. But he was just that, doing movies, and so they got him to do it. And so he plays like this guy, this married guy, like these two girls, like I'm not really a teenager, but they're like young 20s, 20 something. They come to his door, flirting with him and stuff, and he lets them in, and they make him regret it. I didn't see it. I actually don't know what happens in it, but that's the premise. That's the premise of. It's one of those movies on my list to watch, but I haven't seen it yet. But Eli Roth did that one.
I mean, Keanu, he does a good movie like once every 10 years.
I think it's better than that. I mean, I'll say this. Yeah, besides all his series, like if you take The Matrix and John Wick off the table, then he's probably batting about 33%, something like that, of everything else. Like it's I haven't seen the last Bill and Ted movie, but yeah, it's
I just remember his run after Speed. The movies, God.
Yeah,
demonic interaction. Like, dude, you doing like some bad movies.
Yeah, it's true, man. You're right. As I said, man. Besides that,
Speed. Oh man, he's going to the top. Then. No, he's made some bad choices.
Okay, so after Knock Knock is Death Wish remake starring Bruce Willis. He directed that, and that's the first one he didn't write. So up until that point, he wrote all his movies. Mm-hmm. That was the first one he didn't write. Then he directed this movie I saw with my daughter called The House with the Clock in Its Wall, starring Jack Black. That was actually kind of good. I watched it with my daughter. I enjoyed it. Most of the movies I watched with my daughter when she was young, I did not like. Mm-hmm. But that one I actually enjoyed, but he didn't write that one either. Then there's Thanksgiving, and he also didn't write that.
Well, Thanksgiving was part of that Grindhouse trailers.
Well, so there's a credit for him. He wrote and directed the fake trailer for it. But then when they made the actual movie based on it, 15 years later, he didn't write it. So he came with the idea and made the Grindhouse trailer as part of that thing. But when they actually made the movie based on this fake trailer, someone else actually wrote that screenplay. So, yeah. But yeah, you're right. That's why it's actually a Grindhouse : Thanksgiving was. And he also has a credit for like a documentary, Under the Ocean. And he also has a directing credit for a TV, like a mini series based on Cabin Fever that he did, or it was like a fourth Cabin Fever movie or something he's a producer on it. He wasn't a writer or director. He was a producer on it or something. But there's some, they made more when Cabin Fever. He made the first one. Then they made a bunch of other sequels other people wrote, and then they came back to it to like either produce it or do something. Maybe he wrote and didn't direct. Maybe that was it. He may have wrote and didn't direct, but I wasn't worried about him as a director. So as a director, it seems like he's kind of hit and miss. It's not really bad, but he's not necessarily good either. And as a writer, he's hit and miss. So let's say, like, I thought Cabin Fever was kind of good. These other ones were like the Hostel ones I never saw. I don't know if those are any good or not.
It's just torture porn.
It's just torture porn. Okay. But see, I like Saw, but I thought Saw had interesting ideas to go along with the torture. So, I don't mind if there's some torturing in it as long as there's,
Saw had some, it had some better stories. Story. Hostel is just like it's torture porn.
Like, oops, you went to the wrong house. Time for 2 hours of pain.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
Like show a live scalping or something.
Oh my goodness. Yes, I don't want all that. Okay. Nah, I'm cool.
All right.
I'm cool.
Nothing special.
Now this is when you get to do Dolo. So this is a recent release in theaters that
this is the worst movie. Okay, now I remember.
Yeah, this actually is on streaming. This actually is on streaming. This isn't super new. This came out like 4 or 5 months ago. It's on like Netflix now or something. And I remember I was gonna like watch a few minutes of it just to try it out. You're like, no, don't even do that. So I probably won't. But yeah. So go ahead, man. So the premise of this was what? That there's when people play a game of like they buy some tarot cards, right? And then they try to use them and they get fortunes, and then the fortunes kill them, right?
Well, get in a movie. There's some college kids. They rent a house on Airbnb or something.
Okay.
And they run out of beer. And I'm not joking. Instead of just going to a liquor store, no one has a fake ID on them or anything. They're looking through the house for more beer.
Okay.
and they find these tarot cards, and
Mm.
one of the characters happens to be a girl who knows how to read tarot cards. So she reads each person their fortune,
Okay.
and they're killed by whatever the character is
Mm.
the fortune.
So I mean, that seems
And
like a decent enough concept. I mean, is it just like bad acting? The character's not likable? Is it the kill's terrible? Like, what ruined it? I mean, that's a decent horror movie concept.
it's just got me. I'm a big cinematography guy,
Uh-oh. Bad directing?
and there was some bad choices that were made.
Mm.
Um,
Okay.
and I put that's what I wrote in my review. I mean, I usually don't write about craft, but it's like the lighting in here was really really bad, and
That's
some
bad.
of the shot selections in here. Um, I don't know to blame the cameraman or the editor, but there's one particular scene that was like just bad choices
Mm.
that I can't get over. But the guy who the cinematographer, I believe, is not in the ASC. He's not in the union.
Oh, I remember you telling me that. That was why you were telling me that.
I mean, so let me just explain. Most unions you can go to. I don't know how they all work, but like you can go to them. It's like, hey, this is my work. This is what I've done. Could I be part of union? You apply for union or whatever. The ASC, the American Society of Cinematographers, have to come to you. Like you don't choose them.
Oh.
So they look at your work and say, hey, okay,
Ooh.
your stuff is really good. You can join our union. So you join a union, you got that little ASC next to your name, that's you pretty much a made man. Now
Wow.
this guy is not with the ASC.
Not a made man.
I've looked at his other works and like he's not they're not knocking down his door. But I mean not to say that the guy's bad, but he's they didn't ask him to be part of the union, at least not yet. So it's kind of weird. But it's like I'm just kind of put off by like it's like there's like some bad lighting where some scenes I'm like squinting my eyes and like
Mm.
it's just like looking like why did you choose that camera shot? But yeah, it's just one of those gimmick horror movies that is just kind of playing off the old terror thing, and it's just kind of generic. It's just
Okay.
there's like a lot, not like a horror movies. They just set up people to
You
be
got
killed off in certain ways, and
yeah.
it just comes off real goofy.
I mean, were the characters any good? Like the performances? I mean, does anybody stand out, or were they all just kind of very bland, or
This all just really bland.
Okay.
The
So that could
guy
help
from
too,
the Asian guy from Spider-Man for the
Oh,
latest
he's in it?
he's actually in it.
Wow.
Um, But a
Okay.
little surprised at the end though, but that I was like, okay, what, like what? Like, I won't give it away. I mean,
What do I make
somebody,
of that? Yeah, what do I make of that? I don't
somebody
know.
wants to see this freaking movie. I mean, hey,
See, now I'm kind of
My
curious
guess.
how bad it is again. I might watch it, man. I'm kind of curious. Or at least start watching it. If it's too bad, I just stop.
yeah, but I do give them credit. They only, I think they only spent like 8 million,
Ooh,
and
yeah.
it made back like maybe 50 million. So they actually did pretty well.
Yeah,
But
people love horror movies, man. You can just print them, bro. Like if you have money, like let's think, if I had like $100 million, okay, I want you to try to make money with this. How would you do it? I'd make relatively cheap horror movies, like 10 million. I make $10 million horror movies. That's the best way to make. Don't do one movie for 100 million. You're gonna go broke. They're going, you gotta, don't do that. 2 for 50, still a lot of risk, man. But horror movies, you can make them cheap. You can get young actors because most horror movies are filled with teenagers and young adults, or young adults playing teenagers. You know what I'm saying? It's it's dark, so you don't have to worry about like really elaborate sets because all places are dark, haunted houses and scary places and caves and stuff. You can make some decent horror movies pretty cheap. So yeah, man, like I'm not surprised they made money. But yeah, hopefully if they use that money to make any more movies, they're better, made better, because they probably knew it wasn't that good. Like, cause lighting stuff, you can tell. If that lighting ain't right, you can tell when lighting's not right. Like, it's like this don't look good.
Which doesn't
You
make
might point it
sense
out, but
because it's made on digital. I can understand if it was film, but dude, you did it with digital cameras and what you're looking at the stuff that you're doing. And I don't know, but I don't know. I guess he's looking at it thinking it was a good idea to do certain things.
Yeah.
But that's just the thing that put me off. And not to mention the feel like you're saying the mediocre characters that there's
Yeah.
nothing really special about any of the characters or even the actors that stood out.
Yeah, because
So
that's a big key to that's one of the things. One of the other things I meant to say is before about Alien Romulus is that besides that one dude, everybody else did a pretty good job with their characters, and the characters were interesting and mattered. Even the CGI dude, even he kind of mattered, as much as he could, considering he looked super fake. But the performances were good, and with movies where a lot of people are probably going to die, like because basically Aliens is basically a horror movie. All of them are basically horror movies, and or slasher movie, but the slashing thing is an alien. But the slasher movies where you got a bunch of people and they're not going to all make it, how much you care about the characters is of huge importance. Because if you don't, then you're just watching kills and it doesn't mean anything. There's no weight to it. It's critical that the characters have they make the characters matter to you through the first 30, 40 minutes of the movie. So that way through the rest of it, when you don't know if they're going to make it, they matter. And that's something that the better movies do, the worst ones didn't. That was one of the problems with Covenant. Most of the Alien Covenant, most of the characters we didn't care about. The main character was okay, but even she wasn't particularly good for a heroine. But a lot of the other characters, like Jesse Smollett was in it. He had like 3 lines. What do I care about him, right? Like, there's so many of them, they didn't matter, and that's the problem. I think Alien 3 had similar problems. The only person really cared about all the convicts was it was a doctor and it was Charles Dutton. Those only 2 people. Everybody else, they didn't matter. So that's a problem with these movies if we don't get us engaged with the other characters. So that's why I asked you that, because if you have this movie, it's a plain, straightforward slasher movie, and you don't get me caring about the characters, either liking them or hating them. It works both ways. If I hate them, I really want them to get killed. That works too. But you got to do one or the other. You got to love them. You got to hate them. You can't be, I don't know, blah. What's he gonna do? It's got to evoke emotion, so that then when the guy's coming at him with a knife, you're like, yeah, get him, or you're like, oh, go through the door, try to get away. You need one or the other, and that sounds to me like it's neither. So that hurts the kills being enjoyable as well. But all right, so yeah, so that one's obviously not good, since it's your leading candidate for worst movie of the year. Actually, well, we'll do this one real quick. There is no plan B. Now, here's the thing. I think we actually already talked once about A-Team on one of these streams. I'm not sure. I watched it within the past 7 or 8 months. I wanted to bring it back because I happened to watch it a few days ago. And I like it. And I know you don't like it. I think maybe it's because you have more affinity for the original show. I know you don't like that they cast Liam Neeson as Hannibal, and I get that. I do think though the other 3 castings were really good, like the Murdoch, Bradley Cooper as Face. I love Bradley Cooper's Face. He's so good as Face. And then Rampage doing Mr. T's character. Those are all killer selections. I thought Carnahan, who wrote and directed it, there's a lot of funny dialogue. There's a lot of good action scenes. So it's one of those things where I just wanted to kind of come back and say, hey, I don't know why. This movie is a 7 out of 10 for me. I don't know why, because it is flawed. The first act doesn't quite work. It goes on to the first act is the movie's plot is really just 2 halves. It really doesn't have a 3-act structure. It really has a first half and a second half. The first half sets them up. They meet. They are in Baghdad. That's the first half of the movie. And the second half is them breaking out and doing what they do. And that the second half, the whole Baghdad stuff, isn't particularly good. It's like a big lull in the movie. But I like the opening, and I like the second half, the second hour. And so for that reason, even though I remember we talked about this, because I said The Losers is a better version of this. And I still say that. The Losers is still better than this. But I do think for me, this is a 7, because it's just, when it hits really well in a bunch of different ways. Even though it's got that huge lull in Baghdad, that whole sequence. This time when I watched it, I just skipped it. once they got to Baghdad, and he has an opening scene with him and Jessica Biel. She's in. I thought she was good in it. Jessica Biel, I just didn't skip to when they're captured. I don't need to watch any of that. That whole thing is story. But besides that, like an hour and a half of the 2 hours is really good for me. It's just that half hour that just doesn't work. Remind me again what you don't like about it. Besides Liam Neeson as Hannibal, I get that. I don't mind him, but he would not have been my selection either. I think he does okay because I like Liam Neeson in general, but it was a weird casting job for him.
Yeah, I mean, I like Liam Neeson, but he just didn't. I didn't get Hannibal. Because we grew up watching this TV show.
Yeah,
and Hannibal just wasn't. I just didn't see. I don't see that cocky, arrogant. My plan is going to work. That the kind of gung ho kind of leadership in him. I just kind of see this gruffy, kind of old man trying to be Hannibal. That's kind of what I got from it. Okay. But I think I did like Bradley Cooper. What's his face is B.A. Baracus. But
Rampage.
Yeah,
Jackson.
He just didn't do it for me.
Oh, you didn't like Rampage?
No, I don't know what it was. I can't put my finger on it, but it just didn't. That just didn't come across to me.
Okay, it is definitely different than Mr. T's, but I thought it was cool for what he was going for, but it's definitely different than Mr. T. And that's the thing. Yeah. I don't remember the TV show as well. I've seen so much. I remember the concept. I remember watching everybody shooting at each other, nobody hitting anybody. But I don't remember. And I remember all the they always would put all the armor on the vehicle. They always staple on all the armor on the outside of them. I remember that stuff, but I don't remember the performances as much.
And that's the funny thing. This, because the A-Team was they were kind of mercenaries for hire who would help people who really need the help.
Yeah,
it's kind of like the Equalizer. But
this is their origin. This is they made this movie as their origin, not as so the TV show. The origin happens before the show.
Yeah, and that's the thing is they kind of dealt with more of the military stuff and why they want to run, which is okay. But I was just hoping they would get more to the spirit of the television show. Kind of.
I think they hoped to make sequels, but it didn't do well, so there won't be any. I think they hoped they were going to make sequels, and then they would be able to, do that kind of stuff, like have them help somebody, and while the military is still chasing them. Because remember, they brought Jessica Biel back, so she's kind of chasing them. Or remember they had John Hamm has a cameo in it, like he might be in the sequel chasing them or something, but they never made it. But he shows up as a CIA guy, so maybe him or maybe her still doing it. I don't know. So yeah. Anyway, that's why I just wanted to bring it up. It's funny. It's I watched several movies over again, and I actually forgot a few of them that I didn't put on this list. I guess we'll do next month. But this was one of them. Just because I'll just be like, I'll just see them on thing. I know them, and I said, I'll start watching them, and just find myself watching the whole thing. Yeah, it's one of those kind of movies for me. All right. Now I had seen this already, but you had not seen all of it, so. This is the most recent Mad Max movie, Furiosa. Do you want to tell the folks at home a little bit about who Furiosa is and what the story is doing?
Yep, it's a prequel to
Fury Road.
Fury Road. And this Furiosa, she was apparently that movie she got more popular than actually the main character was Mad Max, and not surprising because the movie was kind of geared around her what she was doing.
It was her arc, yeah. It was her dramatic arc.
So I don't know if it was planned, but they were like, okay, let's do a movie about Furiosa. So you got this prequel, which my first my feelings on prequels is I kind of against them because you have to account for things. It's kind of like that's why I didn't. If you remember Solo,
yeah,
Solo. That's kind kind of my biggest gripe was that you got to account for certain things. You got to account for when the Falcon. You got to account for when you met Chewie and when you met Lena Calrissian. It was all kind of
crammed in there, yeah,
lumped in.
Yeah,
because you got to account for things.
Well, that's a lot of times the point of it is like, how do we explain how they met? How do we explain this? How do we explain that? And when you do that, it can feel very ham-handed doing it.
And this explains how she came into the employment of what's his name? The guy with the mask.
Joe. What you call it, Joe?
I can't remember saying.
Oh, Morton Joe.
Yeah,
Morton Joe.
And I thought, I think it's good, not great, but I think you really have to kind of get used to George Miller's style, the way he does these particular films, because they are kind of weird.
And it's weird, yes.
I thought Chris Hemsworth was he was a little over the top, but
I didn't like him very much in it. I like him in general. I didn't like him in this. Not really.
But I think that might not have been his fault. I think that's probably the way he was directed, because if you kind of look at all of the villains in all the Mad Max movies, they're all kind of over the top.
Yeah.
But this one is kind of like just in orbit, kind of like. But I think that might have been Joe. I don't think that was Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, no, he's a good actor. I think it's probably the director. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he did what the director wanted him to do. I just didn't like it that much. I thought it was kind of, I don't know. It wasn't bad. It was just kind of like, I don't know if I feel about this, what he's trying to do here. Like in terms of like the character kind of.
And the funny thing is, one of my favorite characters in the movie was Furiosa's mother at the beginning. I mean, she was a badass. Like it took the whole gang to like.
Yeah, oh, that's right. That's right.
It took all of them. But I thought the story. I think it was a pretty good as far as story wise. It was actually a pretty decent story, and it was good. There's nothing that really stood out about it though. It's just a kind of a good, even, solid movie. It's kind of there's a lot of typical Mad Max stuff that you're used to looking at the movies, especially the original series with Mel Gibson. It's kind of like a lot of strange, kind of off-the-wall stuff, but it's kind of used to in the series. I see somebody is not used to kind of looking at it to kind of weirded out by it, but that's the way George Miller does this particular series.
Yeah, and I think people that saw Fury Road might, which I think was for me, of his filmmaking ability, of like his set pieces, was a pinnacle of what George Miller's done in terms of building set pieces. And so my biggest disappointment watching this was probably that there were no set pieces as good as what he did in Fury Road. Now, I don't think the story really suited that, but unfortunately, that's what I was kind of hoping to see. And so for me watching it, that was one thing I was kind of a little bit disappointed by, was that, as well as not loving Chris Hemsworth's performance. But I did like some of the stuff with a Morton Joe, who, as I think I explained this to you, that they had to have someone else actually play him because the guy that played him passed away. He actually had been some of the original movies. I think he was in either Road Warrior or Thunderdome, one of those two. Oh, no. I'm sorry. He actually, the guy who played Morton Joe, played the villain in Mad Max in 1979. In the original, played the weird guy in the first one. He doesn't have a lot of lines, but he's the villain and the boss villain, the boss of the bad people in the original, I believe. That guy. And so he was the original Morton Joe, and he passed away between these two movies. So they had a different guy playing Morton Joe. But I like some of the stuff for the Morton Joe, and I agree with you. I thought the story was a good story. It's just that it didn't have the highs, and then there was also some of the weirdness, which that's going back and watching all the old Mad Max movies, which I did not too long ago. A lot of the other ones had a lot of weirdness in them. Road Warrior did. The original Mad Max and Beyond Thunderdome both had a ton. And that's kind of part of what he makes. But you forget that. You see Fury Road, and it was more of a straightforward story, and then you get this, and this kind of has a little bit more of that weirdness in it, like some of his earlier stuff, his other stuff. So yeah, it threw me off a little bit. But yeah, man, I enjoyed it, but it's not something I'm like, oh man, I can't wait. I'll probably watch it one more time in a year or two, just to kind of have a second impression of it. It's worth doing that. But that's probably it for me. It's not a movie I probably watch more than one more time the rest of my life. Like it's just not a ton of stuff in it that I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to watch that again. No, it'd probably be for me. It'd probably be definitely behind Fury Road and the Road Warrior. It's to me, it's on the level of it's probably above, but near like Thunderdome. In terms of like, okay, I liked some parts of it. There's some good stuff there, but there's also other stuff. I'm like, either doesn't make sense or I just think it's weird. I'm not really, digging some of the scenes and stuff. It's just, yeah, it's kind of.
Yeah, but it's good. But I probably tell somebody with it's straight
Yeah, despite the fact that he made it, it's just that it doesn't have the highs and it's still visually pretty good, but he just doesn't have the big set pieces that he had for Fury Road. There just aren't those there. Not to the heights that he had there. So I'm still glad I saw it in the theater though, just because he does have either is or has good cinematographers. So it is a beautiful looking movie. So I'm glad I saw it, but it's just having said that, it's not one I'm looking forward to. Like, oh man, I probably will buy it at some point, but I'm not in a rush to add it to my collection. It's cool. So I've been meaning to watch Smile for a while. I love the trailer for it. If you haven't seen it, the trailer, this woman's a psychiatrist and some person comes into her office and kills himself in front of her. And then she starts having visions of people smiling at her. Improperly, like this creepy smile, like this picture right here. And I'll say this, and it had a really good jump scare too in like the trailer right at the end of it. Which of course then totally ruined once you actually see the movie because there's only one scene it could possibly have it, so you see it coming from a mile away. So that's the movie, and the movie as you're watching it, the big question is kind of like what's going on, and then what's going to happen to her. And so those are the mysteries of it. And it kind of, in that sense, it reminded me a bit of a combination of It Follows and The Ring, kind of in the sense of kind of some of the themes of it and some of the kind of like the moral horror or the existential horror of it. But the biggest problem I have with it, so I actually liked it. I think I would give it a 7 out of 10 because I think one of these movies where the third act really seals. Okay, I like this movie. It's not great, it's good, but the third act is really kind of says, okay, yeah, I like this movie because the third act, I won't say save the movie, but the second act is just okay. It's really the third act that kind of says, okay, it's a good movie. But here the problem with it is the reason why it's not more than a 7 is because a lot of the best stuff in it, the best smile moments, are in the trailer. So if I hadn't seen the trailer, I probably would have liked it 10 to 20% more because there are most of the first and second act smile moments where she's just kind of like, doing a normal thing. And then some person starts smiling and doing ill stuff, saying or doing ill stuff. Most of those moments are hinted at or just outrightly shown in the trailer. There's not a ton of them. There's 2 big exceptions. The midpoint is awesome. You'll know it when you see it if you watch the movie. The midpoint is awesome, and the third act is really good. The rest of the movie is just kind of okay. That's the story in terms of like where the quality of the movie is, and that's in part because the trailer ruins another really good moment, and it's a great setup too for the moment. It's one of those things like, man, why did you all put that in the trailer kind of moment where it's just like it's set up really well, where you got the scene and the scene's going normally, even though you're deep into this movie, the supernatural movie, you're deep into it. You have this really like moment that's like feels very dramatic and stuff, and the movie like slaps you across the face and says, wow, this is still a horror movie. It just, and the trailer ruins it. And so it's still a decent moment. I'm like, oh, because I remember watching it thinking like, oh, here it comes. That's really cool. I wish I didn't already know it was about to happen. Because it's, but it's I envy people that didn't see the trailer but watched this movie for that scene that they got that I didn't get. But there's one more like that's in the second act that's really good that they didn't ruin. So I appreciate that. or at least that I didn't ruin, wasn't ruined by me. Like it might have been in a trailer I didn't see, but of the trailers I saw, it wasn't ruined. But a lot of the other moments early in the movie are, including, of course, the opening moment where she's in the room and things. But of course, they're going to show that. You got to show the first act in the trailer. So I don't blame them for that. But there's stuff deep in the second act that they're showing in the trailer. Kind of wish they hadn't. But yeah, I think it's a good horror movie. It's not great, but I think it's good. It's if you like horror movies, I think it's worth a watch. I end up making myself watch it now, and I found it. I said I'm gonna watch it because the sequel is coming out in a month, and so I wanted to watch the first one, but the sequel comes out, and it was made by a single writer director. Who, they wrote the screenplay by themselves and then directed it, and that person they brought back for the sequel. So there's some horror movies that are surprise hits, and the producers who own the rights to it just go and find anybody to just write a quick script and direct it, and it's not necessarily that good. They didn't do that with this. It's the same person. It's 2 or 3 years ago, so they came back pretty quickly. Hopefully they didn't rush themselves. But same writer-director, so I'm hoping it might not be as good. It's hard to sometimes make something as good as your first one, but that is still solid. And they have a different theme because there's kind of a certain approach to the concept that they took. And I hope that with the second one, they take a different approach to the same concept, so it's not a rehash. But we'll see. It's coming out in October. I am looking forward to it. I'll probably see it in the theater. I'll probably give them my theater viewing. I'll actually go to the theater for it. But yeah, this thing is a 7 out of 10, man. Have you heard of this before?
Well, I've not only heard of it. A friend of mine, a mutual friend of mine, actually made a YouTube video that has a very similar concept. That I'm not sure where it is, but apparently he's thinking of bringing up charges on the filmmakers for taking this idea. Actually, I gotta find that and actually send it to you. But
Yes,
it's basically the guy who's being stalked by the guy who is smiling.
Yes, that's right.
And yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but
yeah, man,
I've always been interested to see it.
Yeah,
so
it's worth checking.
Yeah,
you should. You may. Does Alita watch horror movies? Your wife?
Certain ones. She's, for example, like Halloween. She's scared of the music, so she won't watch that.
Oh, she probably shouldn't watch this one then. This will get her, man. She watched this one, man.
Yeah, she said,
we're gonna get her, bro.
She actually wanted me to see Alien Romulus.
Yeah, that's different. That's more sci-fi. That's sci-fi horror. It's a little different. This is more grounded. Like it can't really happen to you, but it's like it can happen to you, kind of thing. Like this is more like intense, I think, than Alien, as far as the horror part. Alien's much more like an old school, like get you to like the characters, then root for them and hope they don't get killed kind of movie. This is more of like this is more of just a person in a horrible situation having to make horrible decisions and horrible choices and being kind of slowly descending into madness kind of movie. Like this, it's not. It's unpleasant. It's at times. So for the
need another Friday 13th where people just die funny.
Or dudes who what?
Where people just die funny. Just Friday 13th.
Well, yeah, the old school, and it was just like a lot of it was just about like a lot of it was about disliking people and enjoying watching him like gaffle them up really badly in different ways. One of my favorite ones always is the one where he has the people in the knapsack and he closes up the sleeping bed and beats the bed against the tree. Like that's dope, man. I can always picture that in my mind's eye. I'm just like killing somebody. Oh yeah, and then he does that, and then he takes the thing and hangs it up from the tree and lights it on fire. Oh man, dude, that was crazy. Yeah, does stuff like that. You're right. Yeah, something like that, man. They gotta do something with that franchise, man. Like try to reboot it, but then it was too serious, and it was just kind of. It was okay, but it's kind of dull. Like it didn't. It was okay, but it wasn't it. Now, do you even recognize what movie this is?
It's The Black Hole.
Yeah, man. Look at this poster, man. That's how old this movie is. That's 1979, man. Look at this poster, man.
Yep, it came out during the Star Wars sci-fi craze. Everybody's trying to do their own Star Wars.
Now, I saw this a long time ago, and I remember that I remember the robot. I can picture the characters and the robots, and they're on this ship, and they get caught in the event horizon or they get caught in the gravitational pull. I don't know if they're past the event horizon because that's kind of too late at that point. They're in the gravitational pull, and like the engines don't work or something. They got to try to escape, and then one of the robots is evil, something like that, right? Like what am I missing here?
Basically it. As what I, oh my god, because I didn't look at the whole thing. I was looking at parts of it that I remember. And it's basically like the astronauts. They're exploring like deep space,
mm-hmm.
and they what happened? They're going back to Earth, and they like discover a black hole, basically.
Oh, okay.
And it's something like they're exploring this ship that was abandoned.
Okay.
And like all this like I think it's like this weird stuff starts happening. I forgot exactly who the villain was, what they were trying to do, but I just remember it was kind of I remember liking it, and I remember being surprised at liking it. That's because I know who's in Anthony Perkins, the guy who was on I forgot his name.
Doing the guy from Psycho.
Yeah.
Whose son made Longlegs.
Yeah. And the guy from Airwolf was on there.
The guy from Airwolf. I don't remember what he looked like, but I remember the show Airwolf.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. The guy who was blacklisted for a long time, he came back.
Oh, okay.
He was a communist in the 50s or something.
Yeah.
But, and then they had this little wannabe R2 unit that was one like the one was all like jumbled up and all beat up. He had like a country accent. And then they had another one who was all like even brand new, all shiny and everything.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And I think he was like trying to show them how to get off the ship or something like that. But I gotta look at it again.
Oh, okay. I thought you would sat there and watch the whole thing, man. Oh, okay.
No. I just kind of looked at parts that I remember.
Oh, okay. Now, where did you see it? Where was it available to stream? You have it or?
I actually bought it. It was on sale.
Oh, okay.
Fandango.
Oh, okay. Oh, you know what? Did I forget that? Oh, here it is.
Oh yeah, I looked at this the other day.
Yeah, so you watched The Gift. Now, I've seen this before, but I remember very little about it. I remember thinking it was okay, but I remember very little about it. I remember thinking it was well cast though. I thought they did a good job with cast. Jason Bateman casting this. That's Joel Edgerton in it, but I don't really have any strong feeling about it at this point. Just like it was okay. But yeah, man, we watched it this past month, man. What are your thoughts on it?
Funny thing is, when I look at, I felt like this about other films, but when I look at this, I'm like, okay, who's the good guy here? Who we supposed to be rooting for?
That was kind of an issue, yeah.
This guy, you don't know too much about him at first, but when you find out what he did towards the end, like, okay, that was jacked up. And then Jason Bateman,
he's an a-hole, yeah.
Who's just
the whole movie.
The character you just don't like.
Yeah, the whole movie.
Even before they explain what he did, you don't like him anyway because he's part of my first piece of dick.
He's Jason Bateman playing like the obnoxious version of himself. Because Jason Bateman plays a-holes very easily, and so he's just channeling that the whole movie. And because the movies aren't filmed in order, I think that the challenge was to try to be likable early on before that comes out. And this movie, like you're saying, it's like the whole movie you don't really like him. So at the beginning of the movie, pretty soon in the movie, you got two guys you don't like either of them going at each other about this or that, and you're like, how am I supposed to feel about this? And what I felt bad about is I felt bad about Jason Bateman's wife, who's just basically caught in the crossfire. That made me feel. I felt bad for watching them. This is my recollection. Like that was my issue too. As soon as you said that, like, oh yeah, that's right. That was my issues I had with them watching, and I'm like, I don't really care about these guys. It's just I'm curious what's going on, but I don't really care.
And
Yeah,
I mean, just a little bit of background. Somebody who might want to see the movie. It's just
yeah,
basically the guy you're looking here. He was bullied by Jason Bateman, who did this terrible thing to him back in high school or junior high or whatever. But we don't know what it is, and it turns out to be pretty jacked up. That basically ruined his life. But he at first he kind of comes off like let's let bygones be bygones. Jason Bateman doesn't want anything to do with him, and his wife is trying to figure out what happened between these two. And the whole time he's stalking her.
yeah.
And then that's kind of pretty much the premise, trying to figure out what was the situation between these two.
Again, it's kind of like I felt like he's victimizing her. She didn't do nothing. He did something wrong, but you're going after her. And dude, there's a more dark ending of it too that they didn't use that even goes further. Like that's but that was my issue with the whole movie, and is that it seemed like he's victimizing her too, and she didn't do anything. So that's marry some guy that is kind of obnoxious, but that's life. But we can't, I ain't gonna hold people responsible for their spouses. That ain't fair. So, that was a big issue with it. Was I didn't know how to feel about it. It was like, what do I really want to happen here? I want her to just like leave. I think that's how I felt. I want her to just leave. Just get out of this situation and let them annihilate each other if they want to. Just her get out of there. That's kind of how I felt. But yeah,
it's kind of the same way I felt when I was watching. You ever see Devil's Rejects?
No, I haven't seen any Rob Zombie movies. I've never seen any of them.
No, and that movie's kind of the same way.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, who am I supposed to be rooting for? The serial killers? And it's like towards the end, you don't know, because they basically got this. I'm gonna give it the whole thing unless in case you want to watch one day. But like,
yeah, I might watch. I don't know.
House of a Thousand. These people from House of a Thousand Corpses. It's a sequel to that, and the second one, which is basically Empire Strikes Back, because they have the exact same plot lines. Mm-hmm. They're on the run from this vigilante policeman who was bent on killing him because his brother was killed by them in the first movie.
Yeah, well, sure.
Towards the end, I'm like, okay, am I supposed to be rooting for the vigilante policeman or the serial killers? Who am I rooting for?
It's one of those movies where you feel like the movie wants you to root for the serial killers. But you don't want to root for them because they're serial killers. Exactly. And so they kind of make the vigilante cop so evil that you can't root for him either. And it's like, well, why am I watching this? The movies have done that, where it's like the protagonist is evil, but they make the protagonist so evil that you don't even want them to accomplish whatever goal is the protagonist they want to accomplish. You want to root for the antagonist, if they make the antagonist so monstrous that you can't root for him either. It's like, well, I guess I root for the serial killers because the vigilante cop is also kind of a serial killer too, or he tortures people more than they do. I don't know how he's worse than serial killers, but that's what they try to do. Other movies, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but there's certainly been movies where you don't want to root for the protagonist, but the movie kind of ham-handedly makes the antagonist more evil, even though they have theoretically a righteous cause, in order to justify the protagonist winning or succeeding at the end. And it's like, that's that can be challenging. Yeah, that's how I felt about Pain and Gain to some extent. Like who am I rooting for here? Now that movie I think is might be more entertaining because of the zany stuff that's happening in it. But that's the problem I felt first watching it. Like now, if I watch it again, I kind of want to watch it again, knowing this, and see if I can just appreciate it for the story they're telling. But whenever I watch a movie, instinctually, I want to connect with somebody from their perspective. And when I don't, it makes it difficult to fall emotionally get involved into the story. I tend to kind of pull back and just watch it kind of aesthetically. And so that happened with Pain and Gain, and it probably happened for you with this and with the Devil's Rejects. So, that can hurt them. I mean, it's their job to get you emotionally, because all movies are as emotion delivery systems. If a movie doesn't get you emotionally engaged in some way, it's failing. No matter how well it's done, no matter how good the cinematography is, if it, movies, that's why it's the cheapest movies to make, or to me the easiest in a sense movies to make in one sense is comedies. Because if it's funny, that's an emotion. A movie can have a terrible plot, bad acting, but if it's funny, that's fine. It can still be a good movie. It can just be funny. That's why there's some movies that are so bad, they're funny and they're entertaining, and they actually end up not being theoretically bad. I thought they're hard to review because the movie, what it's trying to do, it's failing, but it's failing so spectacularly that you're amused by it, which is an emotion. So it essentially doesn't fail, but it succeeds by accident. Whereas you can have a movie that's well made, but you don't connect any of the characters. It's well made, but just no emotions. You're just looking at it. I'm trying to watch a movie right now, The Green Knight with Dev Patel from what's that movie? The movie where the kids on who wants to be a millionaire, but he's Indian.
Slumdog Millionaire.
Slumdog Millionaire. And he was also in Monkey Man. And it's in that, and I watched the first act, and I'm like, this is interesting, but I'm not really getting emotionally engaged that much in it. So I'm debating, do I keep on watching this? Because it seems kind of interesting, but I don't really care what happens right now. It's too minimal. It was almost the first act was so minimalist in terms of dialogue and stuff that I didn't really get into it. But it's interesting though. So I'll probably give it some more time and see if it plays out, because Dev Patel is a good actor. They didn't give him much to do though. And I don't know. I'm not sure, but it's because I feel like I don't really care what happens. If I watch 40 minutes of it, if I never watch it again, if the only copy on Earth disappeared, I never got to see it again, I wouldn't really be that disappointed. I don't really care. And movie by the 40-minute mark, you should care what happens in it. You should have want to see more of it. You shouldn't be like, oh, maybe I'll watch it, maybe I never will. If that happens, that's a failure of the first act in a movie. Anyway, so for me, this movie I remember just being okay. It's an interesting story, but yeah, there's that problem of who to root for and what they actually want to happen. I mean, the third act, you're like, what do I want to happen here? That's kind of tough there, man. What was your feeling? I mean, how many popcorns did you give it?
Well, I haven't really reviewed it yet.
Okay.
But I might give it actually I'll probably give it 2 because it's interesting up to, I guess, when you actually find out what happened.
Yeah.
And then after that you're like, okay, am I rooting for Jason Bateman anymore? I mean, that was jacked up. So,
yeah,
that's the thing. So,
yeah, I remember wanting him to kind of get his comeuppance in the third act, but not her. I want her to be okay, and that's her husband. So it's like I'm so conflicted. I don't know what to want.
Yeah, that's the thing. She kind of gets, like you're saying, she got caught up in it. She was
caught up in it, man. It's like, well, I don't know what to do. So yeah,
it's like he was tied to the tracks. She was trying to undo the ropes and got hit by the train anyway. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah. This was the movie I thought you saw. This is a movie called The Gift from 2000.
Oh.
Starring, who is it? Kate Blanchett from the Borderlands fame.
Oh.
A young Kate Blanchett.
I never heard of that.
I never either. I searched for it on Google, and it's the first one that came up before the other one. So I pulled the wrong thing. Funny thing is, I thought you were talking about the one with Joel Edgerton, but I wasn't sure it was called The Gift. So I pulled this up and I put this in the set of movies. And then I realized later on, oh, it is the Joel Edgerton one. And so I put that one in. But I forgot to take this one out. I just numbered it 13, so I forgot to take it out. But yeah, it's something like suspense thriller with Kate Blanchett. The only witness to the crime was not even there. That's an interesting tagline.
Okay.
And maybe she a ghost, man. She's kind of glowing there. Maybe she a ghost. I don't know.
Why does that remind me of the episode of that's got to be my favorite episodes of Columbo, where the guy, actually was the guy who was in 18. He killed somebody, but like when he was driving.
I saw that one. I saw that one.
He saw a blind guy with dog, and then like towards the end of the thing, Columbo brought the guy out, and he said, this guy's blind, and it turned out that it was the guy's brother, and he brought the real guy out. He's like, yeah. There was a witness to the crime, but it's not this guy. It was you, because he knew this. Like, how else would you know that there was a blind guy with a streak? I was like, wow.
Oh man, because I remember because the actor's name is George Papard,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember that couple. Man, dude, you know there've been like 78 Columbo movies, a boatload of them, dude. And I have no idea which ones are the good ones. I've seen about like 10 or 20 of them. There's a boatload of them. He made them for like 25 years, man. He would make like one or two a year for like every year of our lives, for like most of our lives until like I think they stopped in like 2002 or something. Maybe by 2000 they stopped, but they made him for like 20 years.
Yeah, I saw the last one. He was like 80 years old. He retired by then.
Yeah, I did that. Yeah, they made that last one. But yeah, there's a ton of them because I want to say there's some. I think it was Hulu. There's some streaming service that has all the Columbo movies in it. I think it's Hulu. It has all like because the thing is he would do like a season, but the season would be like 4 episodes. It'd be like 4 movies. First season, 4 movies. Second season, 4 movies. So I remember I used to watch when I was a kid. I watched them like on Sundays. Like I would watch. They would have the Hercule Poirot movies. I watched some of those, like Empire of the Sun and Murder on the Nile and all that, Death on the Nile and all that stuff. And sometimes they would have Columbo stuff. And so I remember watching that stuff. I remember George Papard being on there, but I can't remember really any of the plots, like what you're telling me about. Like I don't remember that stuff happened, but I can't say I remembered. I probably saw that because I remember seeing George Papard on Columbo, but I can't say I remember why, And I remember one where a woman got pushed off of maybe this was the same one. Was the one where the woman got pushed down the stairs and there was like a wheelchair and it was like, how did they do it or something? I don't know, man. I remember that's a Columbo. The one Columbo I remember is a woman got pushed down some stairs. That's what I remember. I don't remember who or why I did it or what for, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember because like I think Leslie Nielsen was like the killer like 3 times.
Oh yeah,
he did like 3 movies and like every time he was the killer.
Well, they tell you anyway, so it's not like it's suspenseful, But yeah, it's funny. Yeah. Leslie Nielsen was on the show 3 times. Didn't kill her every time.
Yeah, because I mean, it was never a mystery who the killer was. It was always like a cat and mouse thing, like how he.
Yeah, it's a cat and mouse game. It's like how is Columbo gonna? Because the Columbo always, they show you what happened. Which I remember the first time I watched one of those recently. Like this was like 15 years ago. I had forgotten that's how they did it. I'm like, they just showed us the thing. I know who did it now. But that's how they all were structured. Anyway, they show you that, and then he meets him, he talks to him and stuff, and whatever, and then she figures out they did it, and then he has to like get him, he has to figure out how to get him. But yeah, so one more thing. All right, so that's all the movies. So now we're going to. So that's all the movies we saw that we are ready to talk about. So now we're going to movies coming soon to theaters, at least theoretically. And the first one I wanted to start with that I thought of interest us to talk about. And the first one, oops, that's not the first one. I did these out of order. I messed this up. Well, that's okay. The first one was this one, which was produced by Apple TV Plus, or Apple TV. I don't know. Apple TV Plus, what's that? Okay. I'm confused, but they produced by Apple TV. And I love the premise. The premise of it is John Watts, who's a good director. He's done a couple movies. I think he's a good director, writer, and director. He actually was a showrunner for ER at one point when he was younger, and he's done several movies since then. And I think I've liked all the movies he's done. I remember in particular the one with Ben Affleck where he played a bunch of white collar dudes that all get fired. They don't know what to do with their lives. I thought it was a cool drama, good, well done drama. Anyway, he made this movie Wolves with an S, and it's purposely done that way. Have you seen the trailer for this? Okay, yeah. So the idea is essentially these guys who are cleanup artists, like the wolf from Pulp Fiction, go in and get called. George Clooney's the first one. He gets called into a situation to help, resolve it for this lady. But they call 2 wolves, and so they both show up, and they're competitors, but they're both do the same kind of job, and they get pulled into this huge, caper where they have to kind of help each other out in order to extricate themselves from it. And it looked really good. I was really looking forward to seeing it. Apparently, it's still supposed to come out for 1 week in September, like the week before, September 20th, the theaters for 1 week. But there's still a question of whether or not they're even going to do that. So I'm hoping there are, because I want to see it in theaters. And the writers, John Watts and both the actors, who I heard are signed up for a sequel, said it's made for theaters. I'm really hoping it's a theatrical release. So I kind of hope so. I'm hoping maybe able to catch it in the theaters because it looks fun. Looks like an entertaining movie, but I'm afraid it won't even get a theater release at all. So it's one of the movies I was most looking forward to this month. Kind of a dry month, but I was most looking forward to. Like, were you seen the trailer? What'd you think of it?
It kind of reminds me of Ocean's 11.
Yeah, same vibes. Same vibes.
Yeah, but yeah, they're doing these little tricks now where I guess the thing is they want to be eligible for an Oscar. It has to come out in the theater.
Yeah.
So they want to, even though they want to, it's probably made for streaming. I see Apple TV do this a lot. They're like put out in either select theaters, and because basically the rule is that to be eligible for the Oscars, it has to come out in L.A. and I think or New York.
Yeah, probably
for December 31st. Has to be released in the box office. Okay. So I guess they probably think something about this film might be up for Oscar. One technical aspect or something.
That's probably true. That's
so
probably
be eligible.
True.
Okay, we'll release it for like a week or a couple weeks in limited theaters, and we'll put out the script.
Yeah. I'll at least say this too for directors is, director, you only make but so many movies in your lifetime. Like it's really a very finite number because they're very expensive. It takes a lot of time, especially if you take a lot of care in your shots and storyboarding and story structure, all that stuff. So I think part of it might just be I want people to have the chance to see it in the theater, to actually have it on the big screen, just as like a symbol. Like it's just, have a chance to be on. It's like somebody having a show on, network on basic cable, but getting a chance to be on HBO. Like even if it's only briefly, it still kind of means something. But you're probably right. It's probably an awards aspect to it too. You probably think they made a good movie and they want to have a chance for awards. So I think you're probably right. The next one, the other one that I think that of the most interest is Beetlejuice, which I only vaguely remember the first movie. I do, but if you asked me before seeing the trailers for this one what the first one was even about, I wouldn't have been able to tell you. It's one of those movies kind of like the Deadpool and Wolverine where it's really not about the plot. It's really just about every scene being ridiculous and entertaining and what have you. And that's kind of what Beetlejuice was. I've seen it I think 2 or 3 times as a kid. But the whole thing about him trying to marry her and stuff, I didn't remember any of that stuff. That's like, okay, but this one, it's got the same, Tim Burton's a skilled director. They got some different writers. They took a long time to bring it out. They must think they have a good script, and the trailers look good. So I am kind of looking forward to it. My daughter has some passing interest in it, and I'm not even going to bother to have us try to watch the first one. I think we'll just, if she wants to go, I'll just take her to see it. But yeah, so I have some interest in this because I'm a Michael Keaton fan in general. So,
Well, the first film is kind of interesting. It is a classic. The main characters were actually Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis.
Yeah.
Beetlejuice, that's a funny thing. He only has like maybe 30 minutes of screen time, if that. But it's funny because he's not the main character in the film.
Yeah.
And actually, really, neither was Winona Ryder. She wasn't really the main character.
Yeah, she was her kid. She was a supporting character.
She was a supporting character. They're trying to keep her from committing suicide. But I am very interested because I'm a Mike Keaton fan. I love him in this as Beetlejuice. I am kind of interested to see what. Apparently, I think the premise is I don't know if her daughter is. Honestly, I don't know if she's dead or not, but she's apparently trying to keep her out of the dead. She's trying to bring her back.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't get any idea of the story from the trailer. It was just Beetlejuice doing stuff.
I think now she works as like a medium or something.
Yeah, that seems right. It seemed like what they were showing. Yeah,
and it's like she needs his help to get her back. Really, that's the premise of the movie.
Okay.
Right. But either way, I'm seeing it because I got to review it. But,
yeah. I'm talking about, but as I said, obviously the things you look forward to, some things more than others. But yeah, I think Michael Keaton is probably in my top 10 favorite actors of my lifetime. You know, I haven't really thought about that too much, but he's probably up there. There's a lot of good roles he's done that I've liked. Now, have you seen the trailer for this movie?
I was actually we were going when I saw Twisters. They had a trailer for this, and I remember towards the end of the trailer, somebody yelled out "boring." We all had a good laugh at that. But yes, I have seen the trailer for it. I think it might be hit or miss.
It might be a what?
It might be hit or miss.
Yeah, I think they think it's really good. The producers, because I've seen the trailer like 4 or 5 times. I every time I see a movie, I see the Speak No Evil trailer, and every time I watch, I feel like I've watched the whole movie. I know what's going to happen in the first act. I know what's going to happen in the second act, and I feel like I know kind of what's happening it's the beginning of the third act. The only question is who lives and who dies, but I know the whole story, and I like James McAvoy. I can't say I particularly like any of the other actors or actresses in it, but he's really good. He's a very gifted actor, and he clearly is having fun in this movie. But will I be seeing it in theaters? No. I may see it eventually on streaming, or if you go and see it and tell me it's good, then maybe I'll go see it. But generally speaking, I feel like I've seen way too much of it, and you're just kind of watching a lot of the first half, waiting for the bad stuff to happen and wondering why at the first sign of trouble the people don't leave. Although, as the trailer reveals, at some point he slashes their tires, which the trailer shows you. But to me, the whole thing is like, why are you all doing this?
That's my thing. I'm trying to figure out how dumb are these people.
Yeah.
You apparently met someone on vacation, like, hey, yeah, come to my house. Like, and they go to their
house in the middle of nowhere.
Nowhere.
I mean, to me, once you're on that dirt road, you're like, I'm turning around. No other houses. I'm not going to nobody's house. Ain't nobody in the neighborhood. I'm not doing that. It's not cracking. I'm going. Like, nah.
And then
I like how they pull up to the house and they get out. And then they're like, I don't see anything else around here. Like, why aren't y'all talking in the car? Why y'all waiting to have that conversation when you've arrived and you're waiting for them to come out of the house?
Yeah, I'm just like, okay, when does the bell go off? Like, when did you realize that something was wrong? But it's like, and the son can't speak. Apparently, his tongue is cut out, and it's a clean cut. So somebody did that.
Yeah, by that point,
like, you don't see anything that's like odd. I mean,
yeah, that's the weird thing about it. So at some point, the child opens his mouth. I think in the third act, or in the second, late in the second act, after they're already like, we need to get out of here. It opens his mouth and shows his tongue, which has been sliced. And earlier, when he's in the basement, he goes like this, trying to show I guess they think he's playing Pac-Man or something. Because he's trying to explain to him, they cut my tongue off. Although, why don't you just open your mouth and just do it that way? But again, it makes you wonder, like, why is this kid waiting? These people's cars, wheels been slashed, they're stuck there. They're in the basement going through stuff they shouldn't be going through. And now he wants to tell him his life story. And I'm just wondering, why are you waiting? You know, why? I mean, he's a little kid. So, I mean, little kids do weird stuff. But I'm frustrated as a viewer. Hey, you know, and if I'm a character in there, I'm like, kid, why didn't you tell me your dad was nuts like an hour ago or, you know, a day ago or however long time frame they're at this place. So, I don't know. As I said, it's one of those movies I feel like, okay, now I'm waiting for the third act. And I guess I can do that at home, but I'm not going to a movie theater, driving to the theater, getting popcorn to sit down and watch 30 minutes of them making nice talk with the serial killer or with whatever they are. You know, no, thank you. I'll pass on that. So yeah, it's a pass for me, unless I know for a reason it's a good movie, because it's just, I feel like I've seen it already, and it's only worth sitting through it if it's good. There's no mystery. There's no mystery box here. I know what's happening. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, I gotta see it.
Yeah, but do you want to see it? Do you want to spend money to see it? You want to wait till it's on streaming?
That's a consumer. Probably not. I probably just wait for it to come up on streaming or something.
Yeah.
I got nothing else to watch. But I gotta look at everything now.
Now I understand the motivation. I'm just trying to say, hey, we're trying to get a scale here for interest.
Mm-hmm.
If the bar is like everything, then that's not helping the viewer, like making kind of, you know what I'm saying? Because they don't have to watch every movie. You know what I'm saying? You might feel like you have to, but they don't. So you gotta I'm trying to get that gauge there.
Well,
okay.
That's what we're here for. It's like, is it worth spending your time, like you said, getting in your car, going to the theater, fighting the crowds, and getting the popcorn and getting the overpriced snacks and stuff.
Exactly. Now, do you know what this is?
I have no idea. Is that based on the original Megalopolis, or is that like a new thing?
There was an original Megalopolis. That's news to me.
I believe so.
Look that up, because I thought it was, because so here's the thing. It's written and directed by Francis Ford Coppola, starring Adam Driver. I thought it was an original story, but maybe it's a remake of another movie called Megalopolis that Francis Ford Coppola's making. But I've heard nothing about it. It's coming out in like a few weeks, and I've not seen a single trailer for it. I've seen Speak No Evil every time I go to the movie theater. I've seen no trailers for Megalopolis. I think I saw one like a year ago that I vaguely recall. I thought that looks interesting, and then never heard people about it. But apparently it's coming out, and he's standing here in this poster holding like one of T-shaped rulers. It's called a T-square, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he's holding it like it's a sword. It's like he's Richard and pulling the sword out of stone or something here, and it's glowing shards. And apparently this is he's this visionary that's trying to change the world. And I have a feeling from what I've just told you, and the fact that I haven't seen a single trailer about this, or even a movie poster. Like, I haven't even seen a movie poster. I go to the movie theater almost every week. I haven't even seen a movie poster for this. And they have movie posters for Tarot, which cost $8 million. This thing like it costs $100 million. I don't understand what's going on. Maybe it's not coming out. Maybe it's a scam. I don't know. It's a tax scam.
$120 million budget. $120 million.
$120 million. I was lowballing it. So I don't know if it's a scam. I don't know what's going on with this movie. It's strange. In general, I'd be curious. I like sci-fi, and if they spend a lot of money on it, I'll watch almost any sci-fi movie they spend enough money on it. But this one, I'm a little worried about, because this makes it seem like the people who made it don't think it's any good. Because if you spend $120 million, you should be spending at least $60 million advertising it. It looks like they spent about 50 cents advertising it, which is a bad sign. It makes me think they think Francis Ford Coppola has made a stinker, and they're going to release it for 2 weeks and then take it out back to shoot it. That's what this seems like to me. So I'm not in a hurry to go to the theater to see this. I don't think anybody is, because no one knows about it. There's no promo for it.
That's the thing. It says it was in the Cannes Film Festival, but no one said anything about it, which is kind of strange.
Well, maybe it was. I don't know.
That's the funny thing with Francis Ford Coppola. It's either the greatest thing you ever saw, or it's horrible. There's nothing in between. It's like, well, maybe The Outsiders is kind of not a great movie, but it's enough to be a cult classic. But other than that, I mean, you got The Godfathers, you got Rumblefish.
Which one?
Like Rumblefish. You remember that one?
That rings a bell.
Yeah, that was
who starred in that?
That was 83.
Oh.
That was one of his. He did that around the same time as Outsiders.
Oh, okay.
But it wasn't a great movie.
Oh, okay.
But you got your Godfather's, Apocalypse Now, and you got Rumblefish.
Seems like he swings for the fences. He either strikes out or he hits it.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one might be. This might be a ground out at first. I don't know.
Yeah, well, like you're saying, I mean, you haven't heard anything about it. It's kind of strange, especially if it's been in the Cannes Film Festival. There's usually some buzz coming out of that. That's the biggest festival in the world.
Yeah.
But didn't really hear anything about it. I'm probably
Well,
thinking about Metropolis. It's probably
probably think about Metropolis.
that's probably what it is.
Well, it doesn't look like it won the Palm to Squat, so it's probably not that good. Couldn't help myself. Well, that's about that. So that's about it for the theater. That's about it for September as far as like theater movies. I mean, there's some other stuff, but nothing I really recognize. That's about what we got dealing with. So Beetlejuice is probably going to be the biggest movie in September, as far as stuff we see. I'll say that I may watch this out of morbid curiosity, but who knows? Now, is there anything else? Like as I said, I'll probably finish watching in September. I'll probably finish watching The Green Knight. And I think I want to try to see. It's on streaming right now. I think it's on Max. Dream Scenario. It's that Nick Cage movie where he plays this guy that everybody's dreaming about.
Mm-hmm.
Looked interesting, you know. I thought I might check that out.
Like a Freddy Krueger thing?
Nah, it's like the opposite. It's like, what if Freddy Krueger was a romantic comedy? Or if Nightmare on Elm Street was a romantic comedy. That's what Dream Scenario is.
Oh, okay.
That's like the nightmare scenario. This is the dream scenario. Although apparently in some of the people's dreams, he does murder them and stuff. Like that, people have different dreams with him in them. But the phenomena is that he's in all of their dreams. And so it's like it gives them a certain amount of weird fame. But I'll be curious what the actual story is. That's a concept. That's our idea. That's not a story. So I'm curious what the actual story of it is. Like what's the actual plot character arc of it? Because it's like he feels one way about it initially. Do they solve the mystery of how this is happening, or So I'm curious. So I have curiosity about the mystery box of it as well as what kind of story they built around that concept. So because I think it was a younger filmmaker, like a newer filmmaker too. So it's like they might be their first big movie or something. So I see, kind of broke through what they broke through with. So you have anything on your talent radar that you want to check out in September? Besides, I guess maybe watching the rest of the Black Hole.
No. Besides Beetlejuice.
Yeah, besides the one we just talked about, like on streaming or something you own.
No, before I stay trapped. It's not September though.
Well, if y'all haven't seen it yet, then you're gonna watch it in September. That counts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Talk about the one with M. Night Shyamalan one, Trap.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that's gone. I can't even find it in theaters no more, man. I was kind of curious about it.
Yeah, I think it might have left theaters.
Yeah, it might already be gone, man. Y'all might have to wait for there he goes. Oh, I think we might have lost him, but that's not even in theaters anymore. I think we might be wrapping up. I think I might have lost him here. Device not connected, or is that me? Did I check? We still going? Yeah. Oh yeah. Wow. I'm still going. So I think he lost his connection. Oh man. So we'll wrap up real quick. So he may try to call back in. I'm not sure, but we just about finished up everything. We just talking about. Usually we just give shout outs to the end stuff we're doing. So I'm actually starting a content newsletter where I will post notifications for a couple different YouTube channels that I post videos to. I have a politics one as well as a movie one and a music one that I'm starting. So I'm start a mailing list for people who are interested in my content. Oh, here he comes. Let's get him back in here. Boom. Oh man, what happened, man?
I think my internet connection might have gotten.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I figured something. Probably. I thought a plug got pulled or something.
That's funny. I can still hear you, but it was like it said you're getting disconnected or something.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I was just talking about, but I haven't altered the thing here to the display here, but I was talking about my newsletter. I'm doing a soft launch of my newsletter next week, my content newsletter, where I'll post starting about once a month, but as often as once a week, but starting at once a month. I'll probably put it in the notes when I post on YouTube for tomorrow or something. But I'm gonna do a soft launch next week to all my channels, YouTube channels. Just a content newsletter of videos that came out during the previous month, with stuff, and then sometimes special occasions, some things that come out or they're seasonal. that I might show like once a year. And I have an initial one that I'll send out to anybody who signs up that has my first ever video, and then one of my more recent ones that I was very proud of. So you kind of see the improvement and the change over time. That's what I got going on. And still, like, I'm gonna do my politics channel. I know I'm gonna do a review of all of the propositions on the California ballot this November, because some people took a lot of value from that. So I wanted to put that up there so people could get some information about those and make a good decision as voters. So what you got going on? Do you want to share?
Well, I got my Facebook page, Cold Popcorn Reviews. I gotta put more reviews on it because I've been doing some family stuff the last couple weeks.
Sure, of course. Yeah.
Theater last week, couldn't get out yesterday. I missed. I still got to see Blink and what does this crap? I got some Slingshot. And there's a lot of stuff I got to actually watch and get my reviews out on.
Okay.
Right now, my priority is getting my website up.
Okay.
So I worked out the kinks in that one. So I'm still kind of working on that to get that one up. I'm trying to launch it in a week. So
okay.
Try to get
yeah, man. But yeah, give me the link. Email me that link for the Facebook thing now, so I have that.
Okay. And I'm trying to, hopefully by the time Beetlejuice comes out, I can do get the podcast up on YouTube. So I got some ideas I'm working out about that one. Of course, redo my set and everything.
Yeah, so man. Let me know if you want any input on that. Want me to help you figure some stuff out, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because probably what I'm gonna do is like put a whole bunch of books and toys behind me and stuff like that. Right?
Oh, okay.
See if I can do that. But I got to rearrange my place here and get rid of some stuff. But yeah, this quite a bit going on with me. I just got to prioritize it.
Okay. All right, man. All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching Only the Real Movie Podcast. I still need to change the naming. I switched the name up a little bit, so I got to adjust the what you call up there. But anyway, thanks for watching, and some links might pop up, some other videos on this channel, or just keep a lookout for our next podcast at the end of September. Anyway, thanks for viewing, and have a good evening.